Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And because I am 1.5 minutes early, you cannot be mad at me for missing 2 days in a row. You can't do it. I'm definitely not 48 hours late. I am definitely 2 minutes early. How dare you, you bigots. Oh my gosh. Hey guys. I'm glad to be back. I hope you are glad to be here. I hope your days are going well. Oh, excuse me. I got the COVID. I don't have COVID. That was a joke. That's not why I was not here. But I will tell you the story. If you're up for it, if you're up for a minute or two of diversion, I'll tell you the story. I know, or I heard that, I guess I don't know, Tim Pool was interviewing Alex Jones. Is that still happening? What a get for Tim. Very happy for him. Huge turnout. Great to see that kind of thing. By the way, Alex, if you ever want to come tell me about all the things being made gay, please do. Please come. It ended a bit ago. Okay, good. I wouldn't want to take away from Tim's live streaming numbers. So I'm really glad that I don't want to step on his toes or show him up or anything. I wouldn't want to embarrass him. Oh my goodness. Oh man. So, I guess woke is good. That's what I've heard. I feel like I've been flexed on by an oiled bodybuilder. That was, if you did not watch Monday's stream with Nux Taku, I had to take 2 days of recovery from the pillaging. 2 days of recovery from the pillaging that Nux gave me live on stream. And so it was a good one. I really enjoyed it. The fallout from it has been devastating. But yeah. Oak is wood. Yes, Outer Haven, New York City. It is. And in honor of oak being wood, I have something to show you. And this will explain what caused me to miss last night's show. Okay. So here we go. Let me get this pulled up. Try and avoid doxing myself or whatever. So here is what caused me. Oh God, it's way off center. Oh, it's embarrassing. Here's what caused me to miss last night's show. This is my floor. This is my floor. As you can see, it is now, and I've got a second picture of the area. This is the specific area where all the water damage was. As you can see, there's no cabinets still. There's no cabinets here. There's supposed to be a whole giant countertop across this wall with a sink and stuff. But yeah, this is a problem. So they were laying this floor down yesterday morning, and then they put a sealant or whatever on it that protects the wood, makes it nice and smooth or whatever, so you don't like get a whole bunch of splinters in your feet, and then it tints it a little bit. But yeah, so there we go. Because of that, they had to do that yesterday and then today. And he's like, oh yeah, don't worry about it, it's fine. You just can't have your kids walk on it for a couple hours after I'm done. And I'm like, wait a minute. Have you met children? You can't tell them not to walk somewhere. They'll go and like just lay on it and roll around. So, anyway, that is the recovery. I don't know if it's actually polyurethane on this one. This is a water-based sealant. So whatever it is, I don't know. There's probably still a canister of it somewhere I can huff. So, but it wasn't, I don't believe it was polyurethane. It was quicker than that. It was a couple hours per coat. But they had to do a coat this morning too. So we took the kids to a hotel, let them swim in the pool. It was good. It was good. Good time. Good time. That was yesterday. The day before is mildly embarrassing. I guess. I don't know. It really wasn't. My sleep schedule got ruined. I mentioned this in the Discord. By the way, there is a Discord if you are a Patreon or subscriber, or if you are on the top level of the YouTube membership, you also have access to the Discord. And if you are a top level member, the super lawyer level on YouTube, please, and you don't have Discord access, please let me know, and we'll make sure and get that arranged for you. But my sleep pattern got ruined by 3 days in a row of being up at 8:30. Now, 8:30 is not very early. However, it is when you go to bed at 6. So, I normally go to sleep around 6 in the morning, and I had 3 days in a row of 8:30 wake-ups, which is normally not a problem because I just take a nap right away after I'm done with my thing. But that didn't work out for 3 days. And so I did actually sleep through the show on Tuesday, which is why the announcement was so late. And in theory, I could have come down and just like turned it on late or whatever, and you guys probably wouldn't have even noticed because I was only like 15 minutes late, which is about as late as every day. But I also had been asleep like the entire day and didn't have anything ready to go. So that would have been a mess. And I didn't want to come and just like throw up a garbage show for you without planning to do a garbage show. Like tonight, you know, we've planned for this thing to be a disaster trash heap. We definitely don't want to do that by accident. Okay? Oh my goodness. So let's see. What? Oh, it is Friday the 13th tomorrow. I don't have any military special to drink. I would drink. Military special is better than some of the other whiskeys I've had, believe it or not. I would take military special over America bourbon. I would take military special over Booyoo. There's probably, I definitely drink it over Malort. I drink a 175 of military special before I want to drink a 750 of Malort. Absolutely disgusting. Ramon, this is a mix of sweet tea and vanilla almond milk. So that's the pregame. Oh, goodness. But anyway, we've got Nicodemus Traveler. I should, but I actually went back to sleep for a while. So, and then got up later. Oh no, sweet tea and vanilla almond milk is delicious. Very good. Very good. Although it is No Nut November, and I think I failed. Drinking all these nuts. Disgusting. Disgusting. Breaking 231. Fireball is garbage. It doesn't even qualify as whiskey. It's just trash. Okay. All right. So today we are going to talk about some election lawsuits. I'm sure you're getting conflicting information here and there about it. So we're going to talk a little bit about it as we go. we'll take a look at some of the alleged voter fraud. And yeah, please stop beating me up and bullying me over my use of alleged. I'm using it in the legal sense. Is there voter fraud? Yes. Yes. I'll say all of my positions now. Missionary. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, there's voter fraud. Yes, there's voter fraud in every single election. All of them. Is there more voter fraud in this election than the other elections? Probably. Because the most common, most simple vehicle for voter fraud is mail-in ballots and absentee ballots. The Supreme Court has acknowledged this. Circuit courts have acknowledged this. This is not a Trump conspiracy. It's not a right-wing talking point. It's the obvious truth. It is the most obvious truth possible, because if you don't know who's standing in front of you, it's voter ID on crack. If you don't even know that a person is standing in front of you and a ballot just arrives, it's the most ripe for fraud because there's no consequence, right? Here's a thought exercise. What would happen to you if you just ran around mailing in ballots all over the country? Like you went and you just got one and mailed it in and you signed something somewhat close to what the person's name is. I mean, they might catch some of them, they might not. What happens to you? Probably nothing. Because how do they know? How would you find out? You just stuff it in a ballot box, you throw it in the mail, doesn't matter. Okay, so yes, there's fraud, all right? I hear you, I see you, I've never denied it. I've been saying there's fraud in elections long before this election fraud took place. Is there more fraud in this election than others? Very likely. Seems to be. Probably. Just based on statistics, yes. There's more votes in this election, therefore there is more fraud. But similarly, the primary fraud vehicle is a mail-in or absentee vote, as stated by the United States Supreme Court and dictated by general logic. It's harder to fraudulently vote in person, and you're more likely to get caught if you do. Is there enough demonstrable fraud to overturn election results in 2020? That is a different and difficult question that the Trump campaign is desperately trying to address. It's an important question. It needs to be addressed. It should be addressed on a much bigger scale than even the Trump election is able to bring. It's not a criticism of Trump or Republicans that this needs to be a bigger scale. It's a criticism of the system that allows it to be that pigeonholes down these issues into minutia when they're broad. So that's not a criticism or anything like that. It's just, God, I wish I had some copium right now, right? Like just a big vat of it. Fraud. But anyway, it's the nature of how our system works. You have to have particularized injury, you have to have demonstrable evidence, and you have to do it in every jurisdiction on every single issue that you're bringing. And so that's why we're seeing hundreds of pages of affidavits show up of people trying to allege multiple instances. And what the Republicans are trying to do, in the Trump campaign specifically, is they're trying to lay out patterns of avenues for fraudulent activity to be shown. So that's what they're trying to do. And it makes sense. Will they be able to? Different and tough question. We're going to look at some of the suits today. These things are long, complicated issues. And so I'll do what I can to try and break them down. They're also happening very quickly. And there's a lot of, how do I word this? There are lots of challenges going on in lots of states. And there's a good website that someone sent to me today that has access to a bunch of this information. I'm going to show it to you. It's simply called democracydocket.com, but it shows you where there are legal challenges in each state. It is not limited to Trump legal challenges. It's all of the election law challenges in each state. You can click on them. You can drill down into them. We'll probably do that and take a look at a couple of them going on. Some of the stuff that is not being done because we have a media complicit in election fraud. Let's be clear about this. And by the way, this stream is going to get tagged, I already know, with the elections are safe and secure. Learn about our secure elections. Voter fraud doesn't exist. Joe Biden is the winner, according to the Associated Press, who now picks winners for presidential campaigns. It's the AP, and they will AP you right in the A. So we'll take a look at it. Yes, very safe and secure elections. Really, let's be honest, elections are secure for about 98% of votes. Probably 99. That 1% of votes, that's 3.5 million votes. Well, no, not quite. Not quite. Let's see, there's about 150 million votes cast. So that's 1.5 million votes. 1.5 million votes is more than enough to change an election. So even if it's 1%. Now people will say it's less than 1%. And they'll all say that based on the same amount of information that I'm saying it's 1%. They have no idea. There's no way to audit the fraud in U.S. elections effectively and comprehensively. The numbers are too big. The anonymity is too high. The rent is too damn high. So that's but anyway, we're going to look at this map. We're going to look at some specific lawsuits. This one in Michigan. One in Michigan is an important one. It does not have these are not high probability suits. These are important, but the likelihood of success is low. They're tough suits to win. In fact, the one that's going on in Michigan right now has just been filed in federal court. It was thrown out of the lower court in Michigan a day or two ago. Hey, catch you later, Ken. Good luck, buddy. It was thrown out a day or two ago. And yeah, so we'll take a look at that. And there are specific challenges to it being in district court, I've mentioned before, but we'll cover that too. We'll cover that too. First, we're going to hit a couple of the chats that came in before the show. And then we'll jump on to Zapero Knight says, Fox Business, Giuliani said he found and uncovered enough unlawful ballots to flip Pennsylvania and Michigan. Great. Where are they? I mean, Rudy's talking a tough ass game, but you can't just say it. You can't just say it. You got to put them up somewhere. You got to produce it. You got to get the audit. You got to get in there and actually audit out those votes. It's real easy to say. This is the problem that we've got in this post-election nonsense. I did the video on post-election hype and the problem with it a couple days back. If you didn't watch it, go watch it. That's the more sensible version of what I'm going to say today, which is crazy. No, I'm just, it's, the problem with it is the Republicans, Giuliani, whoever can talk all day about all of the fraud in the world until they bring something tangible in the form of an audit, a recount, or a lawsuit where they win. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. And that's my issue is not that they're saying there's fraud. I'm with it. Put it on paper, please. Expose it. Please expose it. Please put it out there. We would all love to see some integrity in our elections, which people are partly because of Giuliani, mostly because of the media. People are losing faith in our election process. They are. And why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't they? It looks like an absolute travesty right now. So, we'll see. We'll see. What about the affidavits? I've got them. We'll take a look at them. But here's the thing. Affidavits have been going on in tons of court cases and been thrown out also in cases that have been thrown out and ignored, because the way it's what I'm trying to black pill you on is the way our court system is set up. It's not properly engineered to handle these challenges on a broad level. And we're going to look at Trump's Pennsylvania victory today. There's a victory in court in Pennsylvania today. And we're going to look at that as an example of just, how particularized it is. And it is, it's good that he won, but we've got, it doesn't change the election. So let's see, where's the order? This the one? Yeah, this is the one. Okay. I'm looking for... This is just a petition. Convention. All right. Anyway, well, we'll take a look at this. And then after the show tonight, we'll go over to Twitch and watch something good. I got a bunch of movies on the Twitch watch. Oh, I know what we're watching tonight. Now, many of you want me to say Masters of the Universe starring Dolph Lundgren. I'm saving that one, I think, for tomorrow. Tonight, we're going to watch Jean-Claude Van Damme Cyborg. I also want to state very briefly that I did pick up Phasmophobia, and I will be looking to play some Phasmophobia on an upcoming live stream, or just with some peoples. So I'll try and figure out how to do that. I would love to have some audience participation on Phasmophobia or something at some point. Anyway, I don't know how to do it yet, but we'll figure it out. Okay, let's get into the chats, and then let's get into the documents. Play Yakuza 0. I saw, is that the new one? Is that the new Yakuza? Kiwi goes live. Says, everyone, let's congratulate Nick on reaching a whole new level of being late for a stream. Yes, I apologize. Even though I never should apologize. Breaking my own rules. I like the Spike Man. Says, Nick, not to keep simping from the Nux stream, but you and the crew could totally ask Nux and his friends, including Melody, I know Drex is into her, to play games on Twitch. I hope you keep in contact. Wholesome to wholesome. I hope to keep in contact with Nux as well. That was a great conversation. I was really happy. You never know how a conversation's going to go. And I think it went very, very well. Would love to talk to that guy again and do some fun stuff. We'll see. Break Contact 2 says, woke is good, you morally bankrupt, godless heathens. First time donor. Just wanted to say that I really enjoyed your stream on Philosophy Tube and that I think more like that would be great. Hey, thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed doing the Philosophy Tube stream, even though I wanted to jump off a building after it, because that guy makes me weep for the species. But yes, thank you. There will be more breakdowns as I find them. You know, especially if people can give me if people find videos like that they can send me, that helps, because I don't usually see them. My YouTube recommended section is just full of degeneracy and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, because I'm such a stupid nerd. All right. We've got Bad Vibes saying some of the issues can be addressed by hand recount. Single ballots counted 6 times. Yep. And the hand recount in Georgia is a huge deal. It really is a huge deal, because if there's a hand recount, it moves us closer to finding out if there was software affecting the actual numbers coming in. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully they can get some auditing on that hand recount and actually audit the votes coming in and audit the votes being counted. So we'll follow that as it goes. The Dragon's Treasure. The Dragon's Treasure did he got a big shout out. Well, he did several chats on the stream with Nux, and I will he's got one here too. It says, to those who missed it, the Dragon's Treasure, a haven for anime and tea lovers, is running an exclusive sale. Coupon code Nick, that's Nick with an N, gets you 10% off, and 5% of the money goes back to Nick. Well, cool. That's a good deal. I didn't even have to do anything. $50 order gets you a bonus secret tea. Now, if I remember right, that bonus secret tea is not actually sold individually in the store. And then now go back to your regularly scheduled rants. So thank you to the Dragon's Treasure. Go check that out. thedragonstreasure.com. It's great tea and it's anime themed. So if you like tea and anime, get it. All right. Let's do this, huh? First, I'll show you this democracy docket website. What is this? Oh, there's a Twitter feed going on. Hold on, I gotta see what this is. Oh, so democracy docket is oh man, now I feel bad promoting it, but we'll take a look at it. It's okay. We're equal opportunity. Look at the professionalism. Look at that. That's a strategically placed blackface bar on the side of the screen there. Oh my gosh. This is all this stuff. I'm trying to get my screen organized because it's terrible. It's terrible. Okay. So this is democracy docket. This guy, though, who runs it is this guy, Mark Elias. And you can see Mark Elias, lawyer fighting for Democrats and voting rights for all. Democracy docket founder. My dog's name is Bodie. So this is Mark Elias's website. Make of that what you will. However, it is helpful in the sense that it has a map with all of the lawsuits. And I didn't know that this was a pro-Democrat website based on this portion of it. Okay? And this is the portion that's important here is, for us, for our purposes, is finding, you click on a state, here's Georgia, and then it brings up all of the lawsuits going on around the election in Georgia. And the summaries are relatively benign. So we'll check out that this is where we're getting some of this info. This is where you can find the documents. That's the best part. You can click on these things and the documents are there. You don't have to go searching for them through the county websites or Pacer or any other disgusting government system. So. So there's that. Where do we start? But let's start with Pennsylvania. This is the order in the Pennsylvania suit. This is the important stuff that we have going on in Pennsylvania. But I don't want people to get too hyped about it. We'll read through it. It's just like a page, very short. However, the number of votes that this particular ruling impacts is very small. It's very small. And so, does this ruling flip Pennsylvania? No. No, it doesn't. And that's important to remember. But what it does show is something I was talking about. And again, it's in my shorter video on the election lawsuits that's available to watch still. I think it's the last video on the channel before this one. It's about 30 minutes. But it's that one of the most effective challenges that Trump has is attacking the ability of states to accept ballots after Election Day. That has been an issue before the Supreme Court, and they have refused to rule on it. Here, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court went ahead and did the proper thing and ruled on this appropriately, but it's got to go. It's got to go farther than that. It's got to be applied to every state, and those ballots need to be removed. This should have been handled. This should have really been handled by the Supreme Court prior to the election. They should have done it, and they didn't, because they were being fence-sitters. Specifically, Roberts, you pile of garbage, John Roberts, sitting on a fence on an obvious constitutional issue that should have obviously gone the Republican way. Not because it's Republican, and not because you're allegedly Republican, but because it's the way the Constitution is actually written and clearly means what it says. It's not ambiguous at all. It says that the federal Congress sets the deadline for elections. It's upheld in lawsuits going back to 1944. It's upheld in lawsuits going back before that. In other ways, federal Congress sets the date for the election. State Congress sets the method for the election. They determine how they pick their electors. That's it. They don't determine when. The federal Congress does. And the federal Congress says that it's what's in the Constitution, which is the first Tuesday following the first Monday of November. That's it. Or I think it's the next Tuesday following the first Monday of November is how it's written. It's like Article 1, Section 3. But anyway, that's the time of choosing electors. It's within the federal legislative branch, and so states can't just go ahead and override that. And that's what they did in Pennsylvania. That's what they did in Georgia. That's what they tried to do and failed to do in Wisconsin. So we'll take a look though. So here's the order. And now, this 12th day of November, so just today, upon consideration of petitioner's petition for review in the nature of a complaint in equity and the memoranda of law filed by the parties and the proposed intervenor respondent, the court concludes that respondent Kathy Bookvar, in her official capacity as Secretary of the Commonwealth, lacked statutory authority, and then there's a footnote, which we'll take here. Section 703 of the Administrative Code of 1929, Act of April 9th, 1929, of the Pennsylvania Election Code. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, perfect. Lacked authority to issue the November 1st guidance to Respondents County Board of Elections, insofar as that guidance purported to change the deadline of Section 1308H of of the Pennsylvania Election Code, Acts of June 3rd, 1937, as amended, for certain electors to verify proof of identification. Okay, so what this is mail-in votes have to have some verification that the ballot comes from a person. And if that verification is faulty, the ballot is supposed to be set aside. Now, what the Secretary of State did, or Secretary of the Commonwealth, sorry, she decided that people would have an extra amount of time past Election Day to verify the ballot, to verify their identification, to cure the defects in their identification. And here the Pennsylvania court says, no, she didn't have the authority to do that. Can't do it. So that's a good thing. So any ballot that came in after election, or that was not verified with identity by Election Day in Pennsylvania, needs to be thrown out. How many ballots is that? No idea. Is it enough to turn the state? No. But it is a very important win, and it's a step towards the constitutional decision that we're looking for, and that is, can any ballots be accepted if they were not received and valid on Election Day? This issue hits the limited issue of curing defective identification. All right? That's what this issue hits. Curing effective identification or defective identification. It touches on the major issue that I talked about in the other video, which is only been ruled on by the Supreme Court of Montana, which is can a state extend the amount of time to accept a ballot? And the answer to that in Montana was no, and should be no everywhere. But this is on that limited issue. Accordingly, the court orders that respondents, County Board of Elections, are enjoined from counting any ballots that have been segregated pursuant to paragraph 1 of the court's order dated November 5th, 2020, granting a special injunction. Now, unfortunately, you notice the date? You notice the date on that? November 5th order demanding segregation in Georgia or whatever, or Pennsylvania. That was a joke. It's the 5th. The election was on the 3rd, which means all of the votes that were calculated, or that were that were misidentified on the 4th prior to the 5th could have been thrown into the results. They could have been in the results. They weren't segregated. They weren't ordered segregated until November 5th. Doesn't mean they were cured either, necessarily. So this is the problem with this system happening in the way that it does. We have a restorative justice system. The idea is to take the broken thing and make it whole through a proper remedy the court can issue. That means that the bad has to happen first. It means that the bad thing has to happen before the court can come in and try and undo it as best as possible. Now, they got injunctive relief on the 5th, but voting happened on the 3rd, and votes were being counted on the 3rd and the 4th. So we'll have to see. But anyway, I want to stress, the reason I'm talking about this is when you see me casting doubt on the ability of Republicans to overturn the election, this is partly why. It's the system that it's in makes it hard for them to take something and undo it. Because once a ballot is in the box, if it's not segregated out, if it's not identifiable as defective when they go back to it, they can't pull it out. Because if they pulled out good votes, that would be impacting the rights of people who properly cast their votes. And that's something the court is going to be very, very hesitant to do. So footnote number 2. says the Pennsylvania Supreme Court exercised its extraordinary jurisdiction to adopt a 3-day extension of the receive by deadline for absentee and mail-in ballots for the 2020 general election, thereby allowing respondents' county board of election to count all such ballots that were postmarked by 8 p.m. on election day, Tuesday, November 3rd, and received by the county boards no later than 5 p.m. Friday, November 6th. They shouldn't have been allowed to do this. This is unconstitutional, and this is a challenge before the U.S. Supreme Court that, again, was a 4-4 split and has not been ruled on. It may be ruled on, and those votes were supposed to be segregated. If they actually did, well, remains to be seen. Okay? Secretary Bachvar's interpretation of the Supreme Court's decision as requiring a corresponding 3-day extension of the proof of identification deadline highlights the cascading effect that altering one deadline in the election code can have on other statutory deadlines. So what happened was, and again, summarizing the legalese here into normal people talk, when the Supreme Court said that they could accept ballots 3 days later, the secretary here, Secretary Bachvar, said, oh, that means we can allow 3 extra days to verify identification. And the court here is saying that's not what we said. I mean, it's reasonable of her to interpret it that way. And the reason it's reasonable is because the Pennsylvania Supreme Court issued an unreasonable, unconstitutional order on the issue, which made it confusing for anyone. And this is, again, this is the problem with how this works out. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania wrote law. They created a law that does not exist. It was not legislated. It was not signed by the governor. It hasn't been tested for constitutionality in a Supreme Court. And they did it very late in the process, thereby eliminating that ability to really challenge it. So, the court, I mean, I can't stress this enough. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court wrote law. It's not like they interpreted it to allow for an extension. They literally created an extension without a legal basis to do so, but just because they wanted to. I don't know if you're familiar with the role of the judiciary in a federal republic, but that ain't it at all. So they created a law out of thin air that allowed ballots to be cast or received late. Those ballots, at some level, are impacting this election. To what extent, we don't know. To what extent, we don't know. But those ballots are impacting this election, period. Is it enough ballots? Don't know. Don't know how many of them there are. The Supreme Court of the United States did tell Pennsylvania to segregate those ballots. They told them to segregate late received ballots because those might be excluded. They might not. Did they segregate them? Don't know. Don't know. If they got the ballot and it was properly post-dated by election day, was it segregated? It's supposed to be. Lots of things are supposed to happen. So that's that. Let's see. Mindful of this, the petitioners in Pennsylvania Democratic Party, i.e. the Pennsylvania Democratic Party, and several Democratic elected officials and candidates, asserted that the Supreme Court has the authority to alter post-election deadlines to be consistent with the relief granted. In that case, the petitioner's observation persuades the court that an amendment of the Supreme Court's order is necessary to achieve Secretary Bachvar's objective. Whatever. So, yeah, great. Fantastic. We need the U.S. Supreme Court to rule on this issue. They may be taking up this issue over the next month. Remains to be seen. Remains to be seen. They really should look at it to see if states have any ability to do this. And here's the thing. if a state does have the ability to do this, if a state in general can extend an election deadline beyond what the Constitution says. Here. Let's just, let's take a look here. See. Let me find the section here. Here we go. Oh, where is it? I shouldn't be doing this on this stupid little thing. Never mind. I'm not gonna find it very quickly. Anyway, I was gonna pull up the constitutional provision, but I'm too annoyed. R.W. Bimby says Dems have done a wrong, but court don't want to deny any legit ballots of innocent voters. So it's unlike denying Second Amendment guns, 2A guns of innocent citizens that have done nothing wrong. 40 Beaufort's home defense. You're right. No, you're right. And that's a specific criticism of Clarence Thomas. Yeah, it's U.S. Code 3, Section 1. That's right. Here, I'll pull it up on screen. Here we go. Thank you. Yeah, here's the federal law for it. The electors of president and vice president shall be appointed in each state on the Tuesday next after the first Monday in November in every fourth year, succeeding every election of a president and vice president. Okay, so there you go. That's when the time of choosing electors is. It's in federal law, and the authority is actually, I believe, in Article 2 of the Constitution, which is the executive branch, which is... let's see. Article 2, Section 1, Paragraph 2. Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives to which the state may be entitled in the Congress. But no senator or representative or person holding an office of trust or profit under the United States shall be appointed elector. Okay? The electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for two persons, of whom one at least shall not be an inhabitant in the same state, blah, 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 blah. Here we go. If we go to paragraph, so Article 2, Section 1, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. The Congress may determine the time of choosing the electors and the day on which they shall give their votes, which day shall be the same throughout the United States. All right? That is very clear. The Congress, that's the federal Congress, may determine the time of choosing the electors and the day on which they shall give their votes. So there you go. They've picked the time. They picked the day. That's what the law is. That's what the Constitution says. And for some reason, the state Supreme Court of Pennsylvania just decided that that isn't important. That isn't the law, that they can decide the time of choosing an elector. And again, yes, thank you, John Roberts, for deciding that that wasn't an important constitutional question that needed to be resolved prior to the election. Oh, we could just figure it out later. After it happens. Bad Vibe says, would the Pennsylvania Supreme Court order be grounds for calls for impeachment in this case? The impeachment of the judges? No. No, not really. Unfortunately. impeaching judges is really difficult. Them making bad decisions doesn't need. Well, I mean, no, I mean, yes, it does. Specifically, John Roberts. But impeach him after Joe Biden's out of office, please. Because impeachment isn't a legal process, it's a political one. So yeah, should John Roberts be impeached over that? Yes. So should the three other justices who voted with him, I guess. Because this is a question that should have been resolved and could have been resolved prior to the election, eliminating confusion and delay, right? The Thomas the Tank Engine confusion and delay BS that we have going on right now could have been avoided, at least insofar as Pennsylvania and Georgia, because they could, or North Carolina, was it? Because they could have eliminated the prospect of votes coming in late. Also, Nevada, I believe, had late votes. There were several states that had some extensions. Not all of the states got challenged. Anyway, so this is a different case in Pennsylvania. And this has gone to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. This case is less important now. It's basically moot at this point, which is sad. But I wanted to bring up this case because I want you to see how ridiculous some of these fights are. J Buck, no, it addresses wouldn't that reference the electors for the Electoral College not voting? No. The general election, the choosing of electors is on the as we displayed. Here's the choosing of electors right here. The time of appointing electors, 3 U.S. Code Section 1, shall be appointed in each state on the Tuesday next after the first Monday in November. Thinking about it this way, taking this strictly, the electors have to be picked on election day. That's the time for choosing electors. For appointing electors. The electors shall be appointed. States still aren't done voting, and it's the 12th. It's 9 days later, and states aren't done counting the votes. We need to change the system to conform to the law. Right now, every state who has not officially turned in, this is an interesting question, constitutional question. Should any ballot not counted by Tuesday be counted at all? The election results are supposed to be certified on Tuesday, according to this law. That's the plain language of it. Is that impractical? Well, we have early voting now, right? Nothing says you can't vote early. It just says that the electors shall be appointed on Tuesday. All of the states that don't have their votes certified and their electors chosen on Tuesday are technically in violation of this law. By that standard, Trump wins. Now, is the court going to enforce that? No! No, we don't do that. But that's the law. That's what's written down. I remember the status of the election at midnight. Don't know which midnight you pick. Well, I guess it'd be midnight in each state. That's how it's written. She'll be appointed in each state on the Tuesday next after the first Monday in November, in every fourth year succeeding every election of a president and vice president. Midnight on Tuesday, cut it off. That's what it's supposed to be. That's not what it is. So we have weird constitutional question in here that needs to be addressed by the Supreme Court. What does the Congress mean? And the Supreme Court ruling on that may impact what Congress says. Will it or what Congress says with this law? They may have to revise this law. But the reason I point this out is because there hasn't been an election in any lifetime on here that this has been followed. Some elections we've known the outcome, right? Obama 2012, we knew he was beating Romney into the ground on election day. I believe in 2008, we knew that he was beating the brakes off of the half-dead John McCain by election day. The votes weren't official, but we had a pretty good idea on election night those nights. Actually, election night 2016, we knew that Trump was winning over Hillary Clinton. We knew that. Nothing was official until later, but we knew it. But that's not the law. The states have to choose their electors on Tuesday. None of them have. Some of them probably have. But not all of them. I should say not all of them. This is a frustrating topic, guys. It's really irritating to see the law just ignored in such obvious ways. But that's where we're at, okay? So those are the Pennsylvania challenges going on right now. Oh my goodness. Oh wait, no, I didn't read the one. What am I doing? Guys, this is terrible. Terrible handling of this stream. Break Contact 2 says, Nick, what's the law on sending you booze from a state-controlled liquor dispensary like Utah or Idaho? Have you had Seven Devils from Idaho? No, I haven't. Maybe it's my free state bias, but as far as cheap booze goes, freedom outweighs tyranny always. I have not had it. I'd love to try it. The law is, I believe the post office is not allowed to know you are sending liquor through the post office. I'm not saying I've received liquor in the P.O. box, but I have. As for sending it, I don't believe you're allowed to tell them that you are. So that's a question there. Otherwise, it can be sent via UPS or FedEx. However, that you need to contact me to have that happen, because they can't. I don't give away a street address. For that, I have to figure out how to get UPS here. So, all right. What I'm doing I'm scrolling down on this NRE canvassing operations in Pennsylvania, because I want to show just how ludicrous this fight gets conceptually. And this is the problem with the legal system in general, is that it makes for fights that shouldn't happen. And this fight shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen. Probably won't have any impact on the election, but it's still going on, and it's a dumb one, okay? Bad Vibe says, 2 big things can be done to fix some of these issues. 1, voter rolls purged every 4 years following a presidential election. Purge them every year. Why not? Re-register to vote. Most states have, or many states have, same-day registration. Re-register to vote. It's a tiny burden. Purge the voter rolls. Make them register that calendar year within 6 months. Do it all. 2, stop all voter registration 6 months prior to a federal election. No, that's insane. That's insane, because people move within 6 months of a federal election. That disenfranchises too many voters. They'll never go for it. You can't do that. Just purge the voter rolls every year. Require voter ID to register and allow same-day registration. Done. That's it. There's no problem with that. If you require an ID to register, that's not requiring an ID to vote. Those are different things, right? You require an ID to register, you purge the voter rolls every year, make everyone register every year, and allow same-day registration, go ahead, do it. Javier Miedo says, after the Pennsylvania and SCOTUS ruling, if the ballots weren't segregated, would the SCOTUS or state court be authorized to order a statewide recount? They could order an audit. They could order an audit, and they should. Audit's basically a more strict recount, right? That allows challenges to the ballots. They should do that. Yeah, they probably could do that. Whether or not they can disregard those ballots outside of an audit process is the question. Okay, so here's the question though. This is We'll go back up to the top. This is NRE canvassing operation, and this is appeal of City of Philadelphia Board of Elections. So the City of Philadelphia County Board of Elections is filing this appeal of a lawsuit that they won at the initial stage. It was overturned in favor of Republicans on appeal, and now it's at the the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Okay? We'll go to page 8. So here are the orders in question. We'll read them in the proper order. So this is the first order. The text of the Court of Common Pleas order is in question is as follows. Now, again, this lawsuit will have no impact on the election at this point, because this is in regards to the counting of ballots in Pennsylvania. But I want you to see what fight actually happened, because this has what we would call the appearance of impropriety. And it's why people are losing faith in the election system in the United States. Okay? So here's the order of the lowest court in Pennsylvania. And now this 3rd day of November 2020, in connection with the matter of petition by Donald J. Trump for Republican Inc. to allow closer observation of canvassing of ballots upon consideration of the oral petition and argument and any responses thereto, and testimony and evidence presented by the witnesses in the argument. It is hereby ordered and decreed that the oral motion to allow closer observation of the canvassing of ballots is denied for the following reasons. Denied! They denied a request to be able to actually do the job that they are legally authorized to do, which is to watch the counting and canvassing of ballots. Okay? From not 6 feet away, but from up close. The petitioner's witness, this is what they're saying. Petitioner's witness provided copious testimony as to his ability to observe the opening and sorting of ballots. That's true. He said he could see them open and sort the ballots. What he couldn't do was read the ballots! He couldn't read them! Given that observers are his concerns pertain to his inability to observe the writing on the outside of the ballots. He couldn't read the ballots. His job is to observe and make sure nothing untoward is happening, but he couldn't read the ballots. Given that observers are directed only to observe and not to audit ballots, we conclude, based on the witness's testimony, that the Board of Election has complied with the observation requirements under 25 PS 3146.8. We, however, would not discourage the board from considering the implementation of arrangements to allow for an additional corridor for observing along the side of the canvassing tables, if feasible, subject to spatial distancing under fucking COVID. A joke. It's an absolute joke at this point. COVID is a joke. Call it COVID. COVID is an absolute joke. It was an excuse. It's been used as an excuse for mail-in ballots. Do you guys know that in Wisconsin, I don't know if I have this window pulled up. In Wisconsin, 250,000 people in Wisconsin say they are indefinitely confined and thereby exempt from providing identification for their mail-in ballots. Why would anyone think there's voter fraud in Wisconsin? Ah! Let me explain that real quick. This is a break from the Pennsylvania case to explain what happened in Wisconsin. Wisconsin has a law that says that if you are indefinitely constrained, that you're exempt from providing identification on your absentee ballot. Oh, I'm sorry. Was I too loud for you? I apologize. I'm just mad. Just mad. So you're exempt from, again, mail-in ballots and absentee ballots are recognized by the Supreme Court and the circuit courts as the most likely avenue for fraud in an election. Okay? Maybe we'll go through that lawsuit this week or next week. I don't know. Well, that court opinion. They say that they're recognized as having the potential for fraud. So Wisconsin has a law that says, well, if you're indefinitely constrained, then you don't have to provide voter ID for your mail-in or absentee ballot, because if you have no chance to get your ID because you're indefinitely constrained from travel, like you maybe can't go renew a driver's license because you're constrained, then you, as a limited class of people, can have an exemption from the ID requirement that we put on everybody else. Because maybe you can't get ID. This year, 250,000 voters said they were indefinitely constrained and cast ballots just in Wisconsin without identification. Now, do they verify if you're indefinitely constrained? No. You just say it. Duh, bigot, you ableist scumbag. How dare you? How dare you ask for any sort of verification or reasoning behind it? How dare you? So, it's only 250,000 votes. I don't know if you're following, but in Wisconsin, the vote spread is like, it's under 20,000 votes. It's like 14,000. Something like that. So, again, that's why this stuff matters. That's a huge margin for fraud. Like, think about it this way. If 10% of those ballots are fraudulent or defective, that changes, and 10% of those ballots presumably are for Biden, not Trump, because overwhelmingly mail-in ballots supported Biden, especially in Wisconsin, then that's it. That flips a state. If just 10%. Ty was on the show and mentioned that the rejection rate for typical absentee or mail-in ballots is something upwards of 18%. So is it within the margin of fraud? Sure. Is there anything to do about it? Nah. Can't. What are you going to do? Invalidate 250,000 votes? Maybe, but very unlikely. Very unlikely. Okay. So, all right, back to this. So that was the lower court judge. Lower court judge says, look, the guy said he could see them opening the ballots. I don't care if he can read them. That goes to appeal and gets overturned. So this is the Commonwealth Court, which is the appeals court in Pennsylvania. It says, and now, November 5th, 2020, upon review of arguments contained in briefs submitted by Donald J. Trump for president, the Philadelphia County Board of Elections, and the Pennsylvania Democratic Party, it is hereby ordered that the November 4th, 2020 order of the Court of Common Pleas of Philadelphia County, the trial court, denying appellant's oral motion to allow closer observation of the canvassing of ballots is reversed. The matter is remanded to the trial court to enter an order no later than 10:30 a.m. today, November 5th, 2020, effective immediately, requiring that all candidates, watchers, or candidate representatives be permitted to be present for the canvassing process pursuant to 25 PS 2650 and or 25 PS 3146.8, and be permitted to observe all aspects of the canvassing process within 6 feet, while adhering to all COVID-19 protocols, including wearing masks and maintaining social distancing, opinion to follow. All right. So they undid the order because, of course, they should undo the order. There isn't a COVID exception for election watching. That's the whole point. If you exempt out the watching of elections, then you no longer have a free and fair election. The purpose of these laws is to allow representatives from both parties and from any interested group to be there to observe the integrity of the vote. And they weren't. They weren't there on the most important day, the first day, and they weren't there. They weren't allowed on the second day. And they said, we're not close enough to actually read what's on the ballots. How are we observing an election if we can't see what's on the ballots? Now, this is being appealed by the Democrat Party of Pennsylvania. So think about what they're doing. And again, we're not going to go through this whole lawsuit. And the outcome of it at this point is moot. Pennsylvania is basically done counting. There's 1% of the vote left to count. And it's thousands of votes. It's like 60,000 votes away from Trump right now. So very unlikely to switch Pennsylvania to Trump. I think I might be thinking of Michigan. Hold on. Pennsylvania is just over 60,000 votes for Biden right now, ahead of Trump. Still within a percentage point, but 60,000 votes. Are they going to flip it? Not with this lawsuit. Not with this lawsuit. So, but here's the crazy thing. Statement of scope and standard of review. Here are the questions involved. Whether the issue raised in appellant's petition for allowance of appeal is moot. They say no. They say it's not moot. I mean, they're done counting, so it is moot. In my opinion, but if the issue raised in appellant's petition for allowance of appeal is moot, does there remain a substantial question that is capable of repetition, yet likely to evade review? Yes, and I agree with this one. These are conflicting answers, because this says it's not moot. This says, if it is moot, is it repeatable? Yes, because next election you could have the same problem. Whether as a matter of statutory construction pursuant to Pennsylvania law, the Commonwealth Court erred in reversing the trial court, which concluded that appellant City of Philadelphia Board of Elections regulations regarding observer and representative access complied with applicable election code requirements. So here's the conflict. You have the state law, and then you have the city Board of Elections setting up the method of following the state law. It's like a regulatory scheme. You have the law, and then you have the regulations that make the law work. All right? And that's what happened here. City of Philadelphia Board of Elections decided that the way to comply with the state law was to not comply with the state law. There's no other way to say it. That's what they did. They said, okay, the state law says they must be able to observe these ballots. And they said, but they can observe them from far away. How do you observe a ballot from 6 feet away? Can you read what's on the ballot? Can you reasonably see what dot was marked next to which person from 6 feet away? Ballots aren't very big. I would say no. But this is what they're arguing. They're arguing to keep people away from vote counters. That's why we're looking at this. That's what's important about this case. The Democrats in Pennsylvania are arguing to not have meaningful observation of the election. It looks like you're trying to steal an election when you do that. That's just what it looks like to me. I don't know. Just my opinion. Hands are below no. Suggested answer yes. So they think the Commonwealth Court erred. The statement of the case. Statutory construction question before this court is straightforward. Election code requires that party and candidate representatives, quote, be permitted to remain in the room where mail-in and absentee ballots are processed. Let's look at this. Let's look at the law and see exactly what it says. So 25 PS. Oh, there we go. It's the top search result, shockingly. Here we go. Lo and behold, everybody's looking at this thing right now. No idea why. County Board of Election, upon receipt of official absentee ballots in such envelopes, shall safely keep the same in sealed or locked containers until they distribute same to the appropriate local election districts in a manner prescribed by the Secretary of the Commonwealth. Watchers shall be permitted to be present when the envelopes containing official absentee ballots are open and when such ballots are counted and recorded. Doesn't say in the room, it says present. So that's in all election districts where electronic voting systems are used, absentee ballots shall be opened at the election district, check for write-in votes in accordance with the section, and then either be hand counted or counted by means of the automatic tabulation equipment, whatever the case may be. Let's see. At such time, the local election board. Okay, so I think that's just the one section here. So any person challenging an application for an absentee ballot or an absentee ballot for any of the reasons provided in this act should deposit a sum of $10 with a local election board. So you can make challenges here. I think the main thing is... So here's the absentee ballots for which proof of identification has not been received or cannot be verified. We're not going to go through this. This isn't at issue in this case. It was at an issue in the other case when they just ignored this law. So, anyway, so here's the question. Watchers shall be permitted to be present when the envelopes containing official absentee ballots are open and when such ballots are counted and recorded. They say in the room the entire time. In the room is not necessarily present. And this is a weird distinction. But let me go ahead and hit you. There's actually a bunch of jurisprudence about what in the law means, or in the room means, or presence means in a completely different context than election law. All right? In a completely different context than election law is that of estate planning, estate law. Okay, wills and trusts. Now, when you sign a will, you have to have 2 witnesses to your signature. All right? And they have to be present. They have to be present for that signature. And that issue of presence has been adjudicated over tons of cases. Are you present when you're in the same room, but too far away to observe the signature? Or otherwise occupied? Well, no, you're not present, right? Like if I'm over watching TV and you are 15 feet away behind me, my back is turned, I'm watching TV and listening to that, and the document is signed. Was I present while you signed it? No. And courts say no. You're not present just because you're in the same room. You're present if you're present, if you're observing the process, if you see it happening. Because it's ludicrous to assert otherwise. It's ludicrous to say that someone properly observed something if they actively didn't observe it or were prevented from it. What if you're in the same room, but there's a giant wall between you and the other person? Are you like a temporary wall that you can't see over? Are you present? Well, no. What if they go, when you go to vote in person, they put you in a little like curtained off little cubicle thing, right? Are the other people present with you while you're voting? No, the whole idea is that you're secluded. You're sequestered off from the other people. That's not being present. It obviously isn't. We don't want people present with us when we vote. Our vote is private and protected. It prevents voter intimidation. That's not presence anywhere. Suddenly, they're deciding that it is presence. Because that's what the law says. They must be allowed to be present. But here they're saying in the room the entire time. Not sure where they're getting the quote of in the room from, because that's not in the law, I don't think. I guess we could check. Let's see. Control F, room. Here we go. The County Board of Elections shall meet on the 8th day following the election to canvass the absentee ballots received under this subsection. One authorized representative of each candidate in election and one representative from each political party shall be permitted to remain in the room in which the absentee ballots are canvassed. Representatives shall be permitted to challenge any absentee elector in accordance with the provisions of paragraph 3. So, okay, so here's the in the room part. My bad. I'm making a big deal out of this. But this is the watchers permitted to be present when the envelopes containing the ballots are open and when they're counted and recorded. So this is the canvassing. I apologize. I apologize. I was getting worked up over the wrong thing. Remain in the room, but they shall be permitted to challenge any absentee elector in accordance with the provisions of paragraph 3. So then the question is, are you meaningfully able to challenge it if you can't see it? So here we go. When the county board meets to canvass the ballots under paragraph 2, the board shall examine the declaration on the envelope of each ballot not set aside under subsection D, shall compare the information thereon with that contained in the registered absentee voters file, the absentee voters list, and or the military veterans and emergency civilians absentee voters file, whichever is applicable. If the county board has verified the proof of identification as required under this act and satisfied that the, which again, they decided they didn't have to do for a couple days, and is satisfied that the declaration is sufficient and the information contained in the registered absentee voters file is the absentee voters list and or the military veterans and emergency citizens voters file verifies his right to vote, the county board shall announce the name of the elector and give any candidate, representative, or party representative present an opportunity to challenge any absentee elector upon the grounds that the absentee elector is not a qualified elector or the absentee elector was within the municipality of his residence on the day of the primary or election during the period the polls were open, except where he wasn't, blah, 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 that the absentee elector was able to appear personally at the polling place upon challenge of any absentee elector. So, long story short, yeah, they're allowed to remain in the room, but they also have to be given the opportunity to challenge based on these things. If they can't read it, they can't make an effective challenge. So, we're getting off into the woods here, weeds, whatever. But section 3 or paragraph 3 here clearly states that they need to be able to make the challenge. So, anyway. Okay. The statutory construction, yeah. By the campaign's own admission, its representative was in the room the entire time, nor was that presence in the room illusory. Campaign admitted in the Court of Common Pleas found as fact that the campaign's representative had an unobstructed view, was free to walk around the premises, can see the canvassing workers prepare the declaration forms for evaluation, examine them, and sort the ballots into separate bins, and can observe every stage of the canvassing process. As the Court of Common Pleas explained, the campaign's representative provided copious testimony as to his ability to observe the opening and sorting of ballots. The campaign asserts that this extensive access was not good enough because its representative could not approach close enough to board employees to read signatures and markings on each individual and ballot. I think they just mean each individual ballot, because I don't think the individuals had signatures and markings on them. According to the campaign, this limitation deprived the campaign of the ability to raise objections regarding the sufficiency of ballot envelope declarations and other ballot and envelope specific issues. But the election code provides for no such thing. I mean, it kind of does, though. Indeed, this court recently confirmed that the legislature had amended the election code to eliminate any time of canvassing challenges. The campaign's argument would require the courts to rewrite the election code, which they cannot do. Where did they do that? And reaching the opposite conclusion, the Commonwealth Court contradicted the factual findings of the Court of Common Pleas and the testimony of record regarding what the campaign's representative could actually observe. Further, the Commonwealth Court did rewrite the statute. It transformed the election code's requirement that candidate and party representatives be permitted to remain in the room into a requirement that they be permitted to observe all aspects of the canvassing process within 6 feet. The Commonwealth Court's decision is supported by neither law nor fact and therefore should be reversed. So again, the outcome on this election for this case is likely to be 0. But they're arguing, because they're arguing over the language, that there shouldn't be any meaningful way to challenge the election at all. Like, that's what they actually said. This court recently confirmed that the legislature has amended the election code to eliminate any time of canvassing challenges. So they're not allowed to challenge the votes at the time of canvassing. That's the idea. Seems a little bit out there. But I mean, the state could do that, but that's not in the law that we read. Unless this is an old version. What version of the law is this? Huh. No idea. This is the one I can find on FindLaw. So it doesn't say there's a different version of it yet, but we'll see. Anyway, my point in this is that they're trying to fight the ability for observers to meaningfully observe. That looks shady. That looks like something I don't trust. That's not what I want in my election. I want it to be challenged. I want it to be, have both parties have an opportunity to go after the results. Okay, Jonathan, let's see. Oh, wait. JB says, any chance of a D&D campaign getting started on your media channel? Yes. Although, I'm not 100% sure how it's going, and I might need one of the other D&D campaigns I'm in to end. And one of them might be, I don't know how that's going to go. But, they take a lot of time. Jonathan Prezios says, dude, sharing videos in your own private text has been banned on certain videos. I'm trying to warn everyone. If you want to see screenshot, it's on my Twitter. Yes, Twitter is infiltrating direct messages now. Your direct messages, if you share wrong think on Twitter, you're doing it. Twitter banned ICE today, guys. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. They banned ICE. Is it back? I don't know if it's back. It's back. Oh, here we go. Here we go. ICE says we're back. No hackers, no rogue employees. We had a technical glitch. And we appreciate the Twitter team's help in bringing us back online. When you're Jack Dorsey, the government bows to you. Look at this. Stay tuned here for more great news about the work that the men and women of ICE do every day to protect the homeland. Just a glitch. Oh my God. Okay. It's happening. Woo! You know what they need? They need a pin to top. I want a window pinned to the front of the screen above all other windows. Parlor's looking much better, Chuck Keyworth. Much better. But we'll see. Red Mage 13 says, trying to explain to people that the basis of these lawsuits is that improper procedures were done that compromise the validity of ballots. Is that more or less the simplest way to explain it without diving too much into details? I mean, for some of them, yeah. They didn't follow the law. That's the answer. Jason the Great Awakening says, everyone needs to learn to embrace the chaos in this transition from dark to light. Did you fix your kitchen yet, Nick? Yes, I did docs earlier. I mean, no. The floor, there's the floor. Doxed floor being repaired. This was all gone. All this was just subfloor yesterday. So now it's cabinets going around here. My sink. I don't have a sink in my kitchen. My fridge is supposed to be in this little gap over here. There's supposed to be a fridge there. It's not there. They have to put that back hopefully tomorrow. Who needs a fridge, right? Okay. Brian Mulvaney says, good morning from Ohio. Having trouble sleeping tonight. First super chat ever. Hey, thanks. Welcome. Keep up the great work, and thank you for keeping it real. You keep me entertained at work and on the way home from work. Well, my pleasure to do so. Happy to do so. Bad Vibe says, it sounds to me that the best hope we have in each case is each case has one simple remedy that the SCOTUS can lay down that is simple. Hand count audit with judges of each contested issue is the most effective and reasonable. I mean, yeah, but running out of time on getting that. Random Blaze says, Nick, I am now with you on there being a tie between Trump and Biden if the Republicans keep the Senate. This way, the House will choose Biden as president, and the Senate will choose Trump as vice president. Trump 2024, that way, lots of reasons. Random Blaze, the House is likely to pick Trump as president in that case. If there is an electoral tie or a failure to obtain 269 electoral votes, or 270 electoral votes precisely, that they don't have to tie. If there's a failure for either candidate to get 270 votes, it does go to the House to pick the president, but it goes to a delegation of states, which means that each state chooses one representative of the state. So it's not about the total seats in the House. It's the total seats total states controlled, and Republicans have 30 of them. So the state delegations would outnumber Democrat state delegations. There you go. So likely Trump would win in that case. Don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up. It's very unlikely to happen. I like the Spike Man. Says, please collab with Nux and Drex. I'm sure Mel would be chill with hanging out. Mousy would be too feisty, and Silver would just try to be friends with everyone. Let's make it happen. Woke is good. We'll see. We'll see. Like I said, I had a good chat with Nux, but I don't know if Nux and Drex have the same sort of opinions. But it could be an interesting sort of argument, I guess. Cryptkeeper666 says, do you like tea and anime? Do you want to hear the confused autistic spurging out of the guy selling you tea? Buy the Every Tea sample pack from thedragonstreasure.com. Now make like a Chinese sweatshop and get back to work, Dragon's Treasure. I agree. But guys, really, Dragon's Treasure tea is great. It's very, very good tea. High quality. I firmly recommend it if you're a tea person. All right, let's get off of this damn lawsuit. Let's move over to Michigan. Let's move over to Michigan. Complaint for declaratory emergency and permanent injunctive relief. This is the one that you guys have been seeing in the news. And we're gonna play a Tucker Carlson clip in just a little bit, just for some palate cleansing. Tucker's been doing some work of champions over on the Fox News. We'll call it the Fox News, the faux news, whatever. Fox News is falling quickly out of favor with Republicans. They took a big hit on Facebook the other day, losing 200,000 followers. But we'll play a Tucker clip in a little bit, just as a fun palate cleanser. They've been going through the voter rolls, just finding dead people who have been voting. And he's got stories for them, which is funnier. Very funny. So we'll check that out in a minute. This is the Michigan lawsuit, okay? Let's read this summary. Oh, but these are the affidavits. Sorry, if you scatterbrained. If you watched Crowder, the affidavits, 234 pages of affidavits, and they pulled out some segments of them. That's this lawsuit. In fact, look at this. Here's the exhibit. The first affidavit, handwritten by Alexandra Seeley on notebook paper. Oh my God, it's got scribble outs. This is top tier affidavitry. Numbered paragraphs. This is great. Signed, notarized. This is valid. You can absolutely do this. There's nothing unlawful about this, but it's great. Here's another one. Abby Helmanen, being sworn, declares under penalty of perjury. Another handwritten. Oh, they got loopy scribbles on this one. Loopy scribbles on this one. This whole section scribbled out. You can see this is what Abby doesn't want you to read. But then we get into more traditional ones. We got John Miller, Anna Pinella. Oh, Artesia Bomer. I thought it said Artesia Boomer. Artesia Boomer, but it's Artesia Bomer. Another handwritten one. I believe there may be one we know. Beverly Ballou. This is Bonnie Pettibone. Braden. Something I didn't want to pronounce. Another one, Brett Kinney. Christopher Shornock. I think there's one we may know in here. Colleen. Cynthia Brunell. Is that DSP? I'm looking for it. Affidavit of... Oh, this one. I thought it was redacted. That'd be funny. Is this searchable text? No way. No, it's not searchable text. Dang it. Anyway, I think Adam may have submitted an affidavit. If you remember, Adam was on talking about the voter fraud in Detroit prior to all of this. I think his is in here. Anyway, I don't want to go find it right now. Here's a summary of the lawsuit. And Adam was the guy who came on and we reviewed the Detroit Leaks video. The Detroit Leaks video was where he went to the training in Detroit, Michigan, over the process, whereby at the training they flat out said they were going to use COVID to keep the poll watchers and poll challengers away from the table. Specifically. So, if you remember that. By the way, if you didn't hear this news, the Secretary of State, you can't find that Detroit Leaks video on YouTube anymore. It's been taken down. You can find it still on my video, which has not been taken down. But the Secretary of State of Michigan sent a threatened criminal charge to the person who had published the video. They threatened criminal charges and had the video taken down. So, according to that, I'm a Detroit criminal, or a Pennsylvania, Michigan criminal, because hold on, I gotta pull something up here, because I have that video up. So I would love to see them come after me on that. That would be great. This is a quick aside that I'm pulling up here. Has nothing to do with the election, but it has a lot to do with Detroit. Has a lot to do with Detroit, and I was asked to go ahead and share this in case people aren't aware. Again, very quick aside, and we'll get back to it. The Vic Mignogna Film Forum is at Laurel Park Place. I believe this is in Detroit, December 5th and 6th. So you can go watch some of these things that Vic was in at the film forum. I guess. I don't know if that's what's going on, but it's an open forum on filmmaking, so you can meet Vic and you can attend some stuff about, you know, these movies. I think there's a screening. I don't know if it's just sections of it. I'm not sure what that actually is, but there's meet and greet, Full Metal Alchemist Q&A session, Dragon Ball Q&A session, and then the open forum on filmmaking. And then there are the festival films. Oh yeah, so you can watch the festival films as well in there. So there you guys go. If you want to go meet Vic, he'll be in Detroit December 5th and 6th. Or Livonia, Michigan. Livonia, Michigan. So I just wanted to make sure people are aware of that since we're talking about Detroit. Back to the election issues. Again, not really within the scope of the stream, but I didn't get to talk about it the last 2 days, and it's coming up. Okay, summary of this lawsuit. Our United States Constitution provides that state legislatures determine the manner in which presidential electors are selected. Justice Kagan, for a unanimous court, wrote, "Every 4 years, millions of Americans cast a ballot for a presidential candidate. Their votes, though, actually go towards selecting members of the Electoral College. Those few electors then choose the president. The Constitution assigns state legislatures the authority to prescribe each state's process for selection of electors. The United States Constitution guarantees due process of law and equal protection under the law in an election for president and vice president of the United States. This means that states must conduct the election in a manner that equally values each eligible citizen's lawfully cast vote. The process for choosing Michigan's 16 presidential electors is governed by the election code the Michigan legislature adopted. Michigan's election code contains a host of provisions intended to prevent fraudulent ballots from being counted. A fraudulent ballot, if counted, disenfranchises a lawful voter. Michigan's election code vests Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson as Michigan's chief election officer. And in anime, that would be Chief Erection Officer. Maybe that's a hentai. With the responsibility to direct and oversee Michigan's counties, townships, and villages' conduct of elections. Unfortunately, Wayne County did not conduct and is not conducting this election as required by Michigan law. And Secretary of State Benson did not require Wayne County to follow Michigan's election code. Among other things, election officials in Wayne County refused to permit statutorily designated challengers to observe the conduct of the election and the processing of ballots. Some election officials predated ballots that were not eligible to be counted by altering the date the ballot was received. This is a big allegation. Ballots that are ineligible to be counted will cancel out ballots Michigan eligible voters cast, effectively disenfranchising the votes cast by Michigan citizens. The Michigan Election Code provides detailed rules for the conduct of elections, and the Michigan Election Code should be uniformly and equally followed by all Michigan election authorities so that all Michigan voters have an equal opportunity to cast a lawful ballot. We ask this court to enjoin the Michigan Board of State Canvassers and the Wayne County Canvassing Boards from certifying any tally of ballots containing fraudulent or unlawfully cast ballots. That's a big ask of the court, okay? That's a big ask. That's asking them to exclude Wayne County. That's Detroit. That is the biggest concentration of voters in Michigan, and excluding it would overturn the state. If they get this relief, they're unlikely to receive this relief. I have to point that out. It's not fun to say that they're unlikely to get it, but they're unlikely to get it. Because that would disenfranchise hundreds of thousands of actual voters. So, I mean, the argument over why they should is fine. Like, look, there's fraud going on, and we can't show it because they failed to follow the procedures that would allow us to do it. They're fraudulently doing this, and in doing so, they're tainting the results. That's why they should be disregarded. That's the argument, but that's a big ask. Likewise, we ask the court to enjoin the Wayne County Canvassing Board and the State Canvassing Board from certifying any tally that includes ballots received after Election Day and ballots that were processed when statutorily designated challengers were excluded from a meaningful opportunity to observe the processing of ballots, which was a big claim in Detroit, that the poll challengers were not allowed in the room in several precincts in Detroit. Not even in the room where it happens, right? And finally, ballots that were tabulated with defective or malfunctioning tabulating machines or software must be excluded from the tally or hand counted to confirm they are accurately counted and may be included in any certified canvas. This is the most likely remedy from this lawsuit. It's not a guaranteed remedy, but it's one that should happen. If you've got allegations of fraud, hand count and audit. If you've got credible allegations of fraud. Question is, will the court find them credible? There's lots of evidence that they did some crazy stuff. So we're not going to go through the parties or the jurisdiction. Well, briefly, let's discuss jurisdiction. This court has subject matter jurisdiction. They forgot to write that. Under 28 U.S.C. 1331, which provides district court shall have original jurisdiction of all civil actions arising under the Constitution, laws, or treaties of the United States. Since they're bringing this as an equal protection claim under the Constitution, they're filing it in district court, in federal district court. The federal district court may throw it out because they may say that this is a state issue. That's how they've been treating various actions that are brought in federal court. So it's possible to throw this out. But here, let's look at their other argument. Because this action involves a federal election for president of the United States, quote, a significant departure from the legislative scheme for appointing presidential electors presents a federal constitutional question that's citing Bush v. Gore. So again, the question for this court will be, is this a significant departure from the legislative scheme? That's a tough one. That's a tough question. We'll see. I think it might be, but it's, there's a good argument that it's not. That was good. Let's see. They've provided some other reasons. I think this is, their big punch. Bush v. Gore allowed the federal review of state elections. Ignoring the parties. Relevant provisions of the United States and Michigan constitutions and Michigan statute. We got 14th Amendment, which is equal protection and due process. Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution provides that the times, place, and manners of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof. Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution provides that the manner in which the president and vice president are chosen, this is what we talked about earlier, each state shall appoint in a manner such as in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors equal to the whole number of senators and representatives. The Congress may determine the time in choosing. And then the 12th Amendment says the electors shall meet in their respective states and vote by ballot for president and vice president. They shall name in their ballots the person voted for president, blah, 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 blah. Michigan's Constitution declares that no person shall be denied the equal protection of the laws, which is in conformity with the 14th Amendment. And the Michigan Constitution's Purity of Elections Clause states that, quote, the legislature shall enact laws to regulate the time, place, and manner of all nominations and elections, to preserve the purity of elections, to preserve the secrecy of the ballot, to guard against abuses of the elective franchise, and to provide for a system of voter registration and absentee voting. So there you go. That was a 1963 draft of the Michigan Constitution. I don't know if that's an amendment or whatever. Okay, so the background. We'll take just a little bit of a look at this. Secretary Benson and Wayne County election officials did not follow Michigan's election code and allowed fraud and incompetence to corrupt the conduct of the 2020 general election. Michigan law requires Secretary Benson and local election officials to provide designated challengers a meaningful opportunity to observe the conduct of the elections. Then they have the code here. An election challenger shall be provided a space within a polling place where they can observe the election procedure and each person applying to vote. An election challenger must be allowed opportunity to inspect poll books as ballots are issued to electors and witness the electors' names being entered in the poll book. An election challenger must be allowed to observe the manner in which the duties of the election inspectors are being performed. The challenger is authorized to challenge the voting rights of a person who the challenger has good reason to believe is not a registered elector. An election challenger is authorized to challenge an election procedure that is not being properly performed. An election challenger may bring to an election inspector's attention any of the following: improper handling of a ballot, violation of a regulation made by the Board of Election Inspectors, campaigning and fundraising being performed by an election inspector or other person. Challenger may remain present during the canvass of votes and until the statement of returns is duly signed and made. Challenger may examine each ballot as it is being counted. Challenger may keep records of votes cast and other election procedures as the challenger desires. And the challenger may observe the recording of absent voter ballots on voting machines. So they're given all those things. There's some responsibilities as well. I'm not going to go through those. So let's get to their subheadings. Michigan voters were denied fair and honest and transparent election because, among other things, election challengers were denied opportunity to meaningfully observe the process and the counting of ballots. So we have some, here's a citing to a bunch of affidavits on that. Let's get to the next subheading. Like I said, we're just getting a high-level look at this. Illegal and eligible ballots were counted. Let's read this section real quick. There's a difference between a ballot and a vote. A ballot is a piece of paper. A vote is a ballot that has been completed by a citizen registered to vote who has the right to cast the vote and has done so in compliance with Michigan election law by, among other things, verifying their identity and casting the ballot on or before Election Day. That's actually a pretty good summary. Ballots are not votes. They're not votes until all of the law is properly followed. This has been consistently stated in courts about what a vote actually is. It is a task of Secretary Benson and Michigan election officials to assure that only ballots cast by individuals entitled to cast a vote are counted and to make sure that ballots cast by lawful voters are counted and the election is conducted in accord with Michigan's election code. Challengers provide the transparency and accountability to assure ballots are lawfully cast, blah, blah, blah. This did not happen in Wayne County. Many challengers testified that their challenges to ballots were ignored and disregarded. So we've got some affidavits saying that. As an example of challenges being disregarded and ignored, challenger Alexandra Seeley stated that at least 10 challenges she made were not recorded. Artesia Boomer observed that ballots with votes for Trump were separated from other ballots. Artesia Boomer stated, quote, I witnessed election workers open ballots with Donald Trump votes and respond by rolling their eyes and showing it to other poll workers. I believe some of these ballots may not have been properly counted. Braden Gaikobasi challenged 35 ballots for whom the voter records did not exist in the poll book, but his challenge was ignored and disregarded. When Christopher Shornack attempted to challenge the counting of ballots, an election official told him, quote, we're not talking to you. You cannot challenge this. This may be hearsay. Well, kind of. It depends on how they try to enter it. When Stephanie Krause attempted to challenge ballots, an election worker told her that challenges were no longer being accepted because, quote, because the, quote, rules no longer applied. Oh, there you go. Rules no longer applied. It's fine. Unlawful ballot duplication. If a ballot is rejected by a ballot tabulator machine and cannot be read by the machine, the ballot must be duplicated onto a new ballot. The Michigan Secretary of State has instructed, if the rejection is due to a false read, the ballot must be duplicated by 2 election inspectors who have expressed a preference for different political parties. Which is kind of weird because you're not really allowed to express your political opinions at the polls, but whatever. Michigan Election Officials Manual, Chapter 8, page 6. Thus, the ballot duplicating process must be performed by bipartisan teams of election officials. It must also be performed where it can be observed by challengers. But Wayne County prevented many challengers from observing the ballot duplication process. And again, this goes back, if you saw the video that was floating around Twitter, where there were 2 people sitting at a table, and one of them had a stack of ballots, and the other one had a stack of blank ballots, and was filling in the bubbles, right? And the guy's like, man, I'm just watching him here on video, just doing this, just out in the open. Well, yes, they have to do that out in the open because they have to be able to be observed. And there's nothing inherently or automatically wrong with that process. Without further evidence, we are to presume that those 2 people are from opposing parties. One person is reading a defective ballot, and that is being transferred onto a fresh ballot that will cure the defects by just having, this is for mechanical issues, right? This is like the hanging Chad problem in Bush versus Gore, where the tabulation machine is not able to read the vote properly. So what they do is then go back and fill it out and make sure the line, they stay within the lines and fill out the circles completely and all that stuff. All the crap we had to do as junior high and high schoolers or whatever with the Scantrons. All right? So, that being said, these guys are taking it a step further. They're alleging that while that process was going on, the challengers were not able to observe it. And that is a huge problem. That's a huge problem because you have a stack of empty ballots. And if you can't challenge what's going on the ballot, which means you can't watch that this person is, got a proper defective ballot and that is being faithfully represented in the newly cast ballot, the cured ballot. If you can't challenge that, then you have a big potential for fraud. So that's what they're saying here. Challenger John Miller said he was not allowed to observe election workers duplicating a ballot because, quote, the duplication process was personal, like voting. Nope. Challenger Mary Schinkel stated that she was told by an election worker that she was not allowed to observe a ballot duplication because, quote, if we make a mistake, then you would be all over us. Yes! That's the point. That's the point. Many challengers testified that ballot duplication was performed only by Democratic election workers, not by partisan teams. So we have that as well. These are big allegations. Ineligible ballots were counted, some multiple times. Then you just count the same ballots over and over. Challenger Patricia Rose stated that she observed a stack of about 50 ballots being fed multiple times into a ballot scanner counting machine. Now, there's a presumable, reasonable reason for this, right? They read it into the ballot counting machine. It didn't read the ballots. So then they pulled it out and ran it again. Didn't read the ballots. Pull it out and run it again. 5 times seems like a lot. But if they had that, you know, that could just be, we need to verify that we need to cure these. But we don't know, right? Challenger Boomer stated, I observed a station where election workers were working on scanned ballots that had issues that needed to be manually corrected. I believe some of these workers were changing votes that had been cast for Donald Trump and other Republican candidates. She keeps saying, I believe. This is not what you want in an affidavit. This is not what you want in an affidavit. You want, I observed these workers changing votes that had been cast for Donald Trump and other Republican candidates. This is not this soft language. And she had that soft language before. I believe this. You don't want that. Bummer further stated that she witnessed the same group of ballots being rescanned into a counting machine at least 5 times. Okay, so that's better. She witnessed it. She says, I believe I saw that. That's not great. Many challengers stated that the ballot number on the ballot did not match the number on the ballot envelope, but when they raised a challenge, those challenges were disregarded and ignored by election officials, not recorded, and the ballots were processed and counted. This, I mean, they're making a great claim for an audit. They are. They're making a great claim for an audit. Again, I think that is, if there is a remedy here, I think that is the most likely remedy. For example, when challenger Abby Helmanen raised a challenge that the name on the ballot envelope did not match the name on the voter list, she was told by an election official to get away. Get away. And that the counting table she was observing had a different process than other tables. You can't have a different process. Damn it. Stop the black pilling. Not saying we can't, I'm not saying we can do nothing. I'm saying that this is where it is. I'm not asking for violence. I'm actually trying to temper people's expectations about what's going on and what the likely outcomes are. Because you've got people on one side riling up and saying, yeah, there's a bunch of fraud, and nothing's being done about it. Like, well, I mean, things are being done, but the process factors in a bunch of fraud. By the way, that's the other part of that case. The other part of the Supreme Court case, recognizing that there's voter fraud in mail-in and absentee ballots, acknowledges that there's voter fraud in the elections. But the thing that I've been saying the whole time is whether or not these things end up flipping this election, they're important for the integrity of future elections. They will hopefully result in, prompt some changes. But if Biden wins, do you think we're going to get changes to the process that allowed him to win? I don't know. I don't know if that's likely. I don't know if it's likely, but I think we are due for some revamping of the voting rules and clarifying of it. So anyway, many challengers reported that when a voter was not in the poll book, the election officials would enter a new record for that voter with the birth date of January 1, 1900. We saw that, right? We saw a bunch of the 1900 votes. I think I showed a screenshot of that on a previous stream. That's a mess. I mean, obviously they weren't born January 1st, 1900. They would be the oldest people alive. See, Braden Giacobazi. That sounds like... Never mind. Reported that a stack of 35 ballots were counted even though there was no voter record. So these are the problems. And again, great argument for an audit. And if you can enjoin They may be able to enjoin the certification of votes until an audit is completed. We won't go through all of this. Remote unattended drop boxes, yes. Okay. Wayne County used ballot tabulators that were shown to miscount votes for President Trump and Vice President Pence and instead count them for the Biden-Harris ticket. This is the Dominion stuff. And this has been disputed by the Secretary of State of Michigan. Says, whoa, no, this is a human error, not a glitch in the software, blah, blah, blah. Dominion voting system, election management system, and voting machines, which were used in Antrim County, are also used in many other Michigan counties, including Wayne County, were at fault. They also, and again, I'm providing the counter narrative to be, full information. The Michigan Secretary of State has said that Dominion Systems does not do the actual counts, I believe, if I remember that correctly, which seems weird, but that's what she has said about it. So that's a disputed area. Very suspicious, right? Very suspicious dispute that needs to be investigated fully. Secretary of State Benson released a statement blaming the county clerk for not updating certain media drives, but her statement failed to provide any coherent explanation of how the Dominion voting system software and vote tabulators produced such a massive miscount. And there's a footnote. Oh, here's the Antrim fact check from Michigan.gov. So that's that. You can actually see it there. Secretary Benson continued, after discovering the error and reporting the unofficial results, the clerk worked diligently to report corrected official results by reviewing the printed totals tape on each tabulator and hand entering the results for each race, for each precinct in the county. What Secretary Benson fails to address is what would have happened if no one, quote, discovered the error. For instance, in Wayne County, where the number of registered voters is much greater than Antrim County, and where the tabulators were not individually tested. Wayne County used the same Dominion voting system tabulators as did Antrim, and Wayne County tested only a single one of its voting tabulating machines before the election. Trump campaign asked Wayne County to have an observer physically present to witness the process. Wayne County denied the Trump campaign the opportunity to be physically present. Representatives of the Trump campaign did have the opportunity to watch portion of the test of a single machine by Zoom video. So there you go. There you go. That is a big claim again. And the issue with this lawsuit is that the main remedy looks to be an audit. So, because what they've laid out again is that, okay, in Wayne County, they could have the same glitch. The weak part of this section is they didn't say that they have evidence that there was a problem in Wayne County. Just that there might be and they don't know. Typically, that's not enough for a court to go in. But if they're going into this suit on other grounds, maybe they'll look at it. If what they've alleged here basically is sufficient facts to say that in Antrim County a hand recount fixed it. A hand recount and an audit fixed it. They went through, they looked at the tapes, they entered them by hand, and they got it. If they order that result in Wayne County, it's very possible not to change the outcome. You follow me? Because if they have the same exact results in Wayne County, if they have the same remedy in Wayne County that they had in Antrim County, then what the person does is they go around and look at all of the tapes. Like there's a stack of ballots or box of ballots, and then on top, there's a tape of the actual tabulation that occurred. And then they go in and then they, hand type in all of the tabulations and make sure. That's what they did in Antrim County, and it remedied it. If you do that in Wayne County, it's very possible that the result is the exact same it is now. Doesn't mean necessarily that the votes are actually going to shift. If the Secretary of State is right and the county clerk screwed up in their initial sort of upload or whatever they did, and then fixed it by doing that hand audit, they might just order that remedy. Okay, do that in Wayne County. Well, if all the tabulators include faulty votes for Biden, or Trump or whoever it may be for, if the numbers match up to the unofficial results that they've been submitting, then there's no change. Do you follow me? So this is a hard one. This isn't enough, in my opinion, to stop the certification of the results, but it is enough to go ahead and say, audit it with this much remedy. Tabulators issues occurred elsewhere in Michigan. Again, not in Wayne County. They haven't alleged it in Wayne County, and this is a problem. In Oakland County, Democrat Melanie Hartman was wrongly declared the winner of a commissioner's race by 104 vote margin. Computer issue at the Rochester Hills clerk's office caused them to double count some votes. After election officials caught the error, Republican Adam Cockendorfer. Some names look like jokes. I'm sorry. Some names look like jokes. And Adam Cockendorfer looks like a joke name. Was declared the winner with 1,127 more votes than Hartman. That's a big swing. That's a big swing. That's a 2,200 vote swing. So the vote tabulator failures are a mechanical malfunction that under MCL requires a special election in the precincts affected. Michigan Election Code provides the Board of Canvassers shall order a special election as governed by those precincts affected by the defect or mechanical malfunction. Board of County Canvassers, quote, is responsible for resolving any claims that malfunctioning voter equipment of defective ballots may have affected the outcome of a vote on an office appearing on the ballot. Michigan Manual for Boards of County Canvassers. Again, a special election in those precincts. It's a possible remedy. It's a really unlikely remedy for the presidential election. Mainly because the timeline is too short, and if we're being strict on and using a consistent constitutional interpretation, right? Remember what I said earlier. Congress, the federal Congress, has laid out the day for the appointing of electors, and that was Tuesday, Election Day. Having a second special election in a county violates that provision. It violates it. So that's the problem with having a consistent view on this, is that a special election violates the original election, which is ordered by Congress. And that's a problem with that remedy. That's a big problem with that remedy. Like if the Supreme Court comes in and says, oh yeah, a special election in that area. Do they have the power to do that? I think the Supreme Court would say, no, they don't. There is no redo or do-over provision for it. Canvassing process in Michigan. Okay. So then, they violated equal protection. And again, if they redid the vote, they'd be violating equal protection too. The court won't do an unlawful remedy. I think that's a problem with the redo the vote thing. Again, an audit, absolutely. Absolutely. Potentially uncertifying a precinct full of votes is a possibility, but very unlikely. Okay, Secretary of State Benson, Wayne County violated the rights of these Michigan voters under the federal elections and electors clauses. Violated Michigan Election Code. Prayer for relief. So here's what they're asking. An order directing Secretary Benson and the Michigan Board of State Canvassers to not certify the election results until they have verified and confirmed that all ballots that were tabulated and included in the final reported election results were cast in compliance with the provisions of the Michigan Election Code as set forth herein. That sounds like an audit. That's a good remedy. We like this. Don't certify the results that you can't certify. They need to be challenged. An order prohibiting the Wayne County Board of County Canvassers and the Board of State Canvassers from certifying any vote tally that includes these things, which again, an audit would presumably remove those deficiencies. That'd be the idea. That's, again, the most likely remedy. An order directing the Wayne County Board of County Canvassers to summon and open the ballot boxes and other election material as provided in MCL 168.823 and in the presence of challengers who can meaningfully monitor the process to review the poll list. So you gotta have the challengers there meaningfully monitoring it. Not in the room 100 miles away like they were doing in Detroit. But you gotta do it here. All right? Next, an order directing the challengers be allowed to be physically present with a meaningful opportunity. Same thing. To observe when the accuracy of each piece of tabulating equipment is determined. Oh, this is different from the votes. This is when we go to do the recount, we want all of that equipment tested and certified, and we want observers to be meaningfully present during that. Not by a Zoom call, not 30 feet away or 100 feet away or whatever. Up there, able to observe the verification process. If the accuracy of each piece of tabulation equipment used by Wayne County is not confirmed to be accurate, an order directing a special election to be held in the defective precincts as provided here. Again, this may be unconstitutional. I think it is. So I think a special election is out of the question. I don't think there's any way the Supreme Court orders it. And then next, an order directing the Board of County Canvassers and the Board of State Canvassers with challengers present and meaningfully able to observe to obtain and review the video of unattended remote ballot drop boxes. Yes, and this should happen. It's a state law that all of the ballot drop boxes have to have a video camera on them at all times. And then, yes, they should be able to review the video. Because if one guy comes up and just feeds in a bunch of ballots like tickets at the stupid arcade, right? Little ticket counter machine. He's just shoving in ballots like that. That's a problem. That's an issue that we need to look at. So that's what they're asking. That's again a reasonable remedy. It's not, their overall request isn't unreasonable. It basically is a request for an audit. It should be done. There are plenty of problems in Michigan. There are publicly acknowledged. Whoa. Publicly acknowledged problems that happened in Michigan, acknowledged by both parties. There's a controversy. It should be audited, hands down. That shouldn't be controversial at all. This is to determine a presidential election. But yeah, so that's reasonable. Again, I won't go through the whole lawsuit word for word. We went through the important sections, but you can go to this commie's website, democracydocket.com, and then you can pull up the individual things. You can find all these documents. They're all free. Provided by the power of communism. So go do that. All right. If you want to read any of this stuff, someone was marveling in chat earlier. I saw you. There are challenges in Texas. Yeah, tons of them. We've got 6 challenges, different stuff. None of them by the Trump campaign here. Because why would he challenge those? Waste of time and resources. So the meaningful places we've got, of course, are Georgia is meaningful, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Michigan. Yes, there's challenges here in Minnesota. Arizona has an important challenge. I think I have it pulled up. Trump v. Hobbs. Here we go. Here's the Maricopa County one. Razorfist is probably interested in what's going on here. Here's a motion to dismiss a verified complaint by the Democrat Party. Oh yeah, here's why I picked this one. I just wanted to read this first this intro, because this is great. The people have spoken! After careful and cautious analysis of the ballot counts in states across the nation, every major news outlet has declared Joe Biden the president-elect of the United States. Just hours after these calls were made, plaintiffs Donald J. Trump for President, Inc., the Trump campaign, the Republican National Committee, and the Arizona Republican Party, apparently dissatisfied with the outcome, filed their complaint seeking to halt the certification of votes in Arizona and inject uncertainty and confusion into the democratic process. This lawsuit should be seen for what it is. A last-ditch effort by an unsuccessful presidential campaign to sow doubt and mistrust in a legitimately conducted election. Nearly a dozen other state and federal courts across the nation have resoundingly rejected similar unsubstantiated claims of voting irregularities and fraud made by the Trump campaign and various Republican entities, and the same results should follow here. So anyway, plaintiffs' evidence in support of their claims is thin. In their complaint, plaintiffs plead their theory of systematic mistabulation by Maricopa County's voting machines upon information and belief nearly 20 times. But simply, their allegations of disenfranchisement are premised on speculation. That's not what information and belief means. Information and belief is beyond mere speculation. They should know this. I mean, they do. They do. Of course, they're zealously advocating. Even accepting the truth of their allegations, the number of overvotes from in-person election day voting in Maricopa County falls well short of any figure that would change the outcome of Arizona's presidential contest or any other race. Because plaintiffs' grievances cannot be redressed through this lawsuit, their claims fail for lack of standing. Their grievance is not overturning the election. The grievance is the fraudulent votes, so they can actually be redressed. Because plaintiffs sat on their rights for nearly a week during a time-sensitive vote tabulation process instead of seeking to correct alleged issues with ballots as they arose, their claims are barred by the equitable doctrine of latches. A whole week. Now, this is ridiculous. So this is the Democratic Party of Arizona attempting to intervene and have the Trump campaign's complaint dismissed. I just wanted to... The introduction is such inflammatory nonsense that I wanted to point it out. Again, it points to that sort of idea that they don't really have a good argument about what's going on. This is the Sharpie case, by the way. This is the Sharpie case. So after dismissing Arizona public interest ballot cure, the Trump campaign filed an identical lawsuit. This challenge is based on social media allegations that claim voters' ballots did not count if they used a Sharpie, despite county officials strongly denying this claim. So this was brought originally in the lower court. This one, Aguilera versus Fontes, and then the Republican Party or the plaintiffs here dismissed the complaint. The judge didn't. They withdrew the complaint because the president was going to file the complaint, and then instead of intervening in this case, the president just filed. The presidential election campaign filed the complaint here. So it prevented that. They dismissed their own complaint without prejudice, and then that allows Trump to file instead. So we'll see how that works out. That one is going to happen. We've got the complaint. We've got the motion to dismiss. This is a motion to dismiss. This hasn't been ruled on at all. But the idea that they waited a week to file it is silly, again, because Arizona is still not done counting. There was one other one I wanted to look at. Was it this one? Oh, this is a complaint for relief in Wisconsin. That's not the one. Where was it? I wanted to show you a ridiculous one. Michigan. Is it not this one? Oh, I gotta find the right case here. Hold on, I lost my I want to point. There was something on here that was really annoying. Oh, here you go. Look at this. All right. So this is the one. Sorry, I had to get to the right spot. So this is the State of Michigan Court of Claims. So before the court are two motions. First is plaintiff's November 4th emergency motion for declaratory relief. The reason stated on the record incorporated here in the motion is denied. Also pending before the court is a motion to intervene as a plaintiff filed by the Democratic National Committee. Because the relief requested by plaintiffs in this case will not issue, the court denies as moot the motion to intervene. So this was an earlier challenge to Jocelyn Benson. So here, let's read this real quick. This will be probably the last document we do. We'll watch the Tucker clip, and then we'll talk about it. Hey, Camelot, what's up, buddy? How you liking this election nonsense? We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it sometime soon. That would be fun. According to the allegations in plaintiff's complaint, plaintiff Eric Ostergren is a credentialed election challenger under Michigan law. Paragraph 2 of the complaint alleges that he was excluded from counting board during the absent voter ballot review process. The complaint does not specify when, where, or by whom plaintiff was excluded, nor does the complaint provide any details about why the alleged exclusion occurred. The complaint contains allegations concerning absent voter ballot drop boxes. Plaintiffs allege that state law requires that ballot containers must be monitored by video surveillance. Plaintiff contends that election challengers must be given an opportunity to observe video of ballot drop boxes with referencing the provisions of the statute that purportedly grant such access. Plaintiff's emergency motion asks the court to order all counting and processing of absentee ballots to cease until an election inspector from each political party is allowed to be present at every absent voter counting board, and asks this court require the Secretary of State to order immediate segregation of all ballots that are not being inspected and monitored as required by law. Okay, so that's the basic thrust of this complaint. Importantly, this was on November 4th. This order was signed November 6th. They filed it on November 4th. Here's the only paragraph I really want to read, but I wanted to let you guys know what this is about. The same stuff is in the other one. Look at this. Look at this order. Look at this order. Moreover, even if the requested relief could issue against the Secretary of State, the court notes that the complaint and emergency motion were not filed until approximately 4 p.m. on November 4th. Mind you, this is the day after the election at 4 p.m., so still during business times, despite being announced to various media outlets much earlier in the day. Fuck off. So they announced they were going to sue early in the day, and then they got it filed in the early afternoon, 4 o'clock, before close of business. By the time this action was filed, the votes had largely been counted, and the counting is now complete. This is Michigan. On November 6th. This is Michigan on November 6th, saying the voting is now complete. Okay? You catch this? The fucking judge says the voting is complete on November 6th. I mean, it wasn't. Wasn't complete at all. Certainly wasn't complete when they asked for the relief on the 4th. Accordingly, and even assuming the requested relief were available against the Secretary of State and overlooking the problems with the factual and evidentiary record noted above, the matter is now moot. It is impossible to issue the requested relief. They were still counting when this order was issued. So there you go. That's the problem that we're actually facing with all of this, right? But again, this is the problem with the system and why I'm trying to caution people on getting their hopes up. If you're putting your faith in the courts to overturn this, the restrictions on how you bring this stuff in a court competently make it really, really hard for them to issue the remedy that these guys are looking for. So that's the purpose there. It's nothing too special. Let's take a look at old Tucker here, and we'll I've got the embedded video. It'll be good enough. Let me zoom in on it. That's as good as it's gonna get. Great. All right, so let's play a bit of this Tucker video. I've got it at the spot. This is just for fun. This is just some good old-fashioned unwinding and laughing at some solid programming by Tucker Carlson, okay? We'll talk about it a little bit and stuff, so we're, you know, and I'm only using the relevant portion that's funny. So here we go. Whoops, you're muted. Make sure the volume's up on this. Okay, back to it. Here we go.
Federal prosecutors to look into those unsubstantiated claims of voter fraud.
There is no evidence of widespread voter fraud. No evidence of widespread flaws in the mail-in voting process.
Okay, notice what they're saying now. This is a trick. No evidence of quote-unquote widespread voter fraud. Well, it's not widespread. Because, of course, there's plenty of evidence of voter fraud. It happens all the time. But widespread. No man-spread voter fraud here. Only cuck spread voter fraud going on. No widespread voter fraud, guys. Don't worry about it. So this is the weasel word of the media is widespread. But of course it is widespread. And remember, all of these people for 4 years have been trying to convince us that somehow Russia defrauded the entire nation in the election of Donald Trump. If you want to look at the real electioneering and interference that's been going on and the real problem with the American election system, it's that politicians, especially the discrediting and the lack of faith. So let's address this BS talking point real quick. That this election is going to destroy people's faith in the voting process. No. This election by itself does nothing of the sort. What does destroy faith in the voting process is a media who has been hell-bent on destroying faith in the election for 4 straight years. The media has been pushing the narrative that the election is flawed and can be influenced by Russia, China, anybody else, whoever wants to. The media has been pushing that narrative harder than anybody else. And they're the ones responsible for the lack of faith in the election process. Because all of this challenge that's going on right now is part of it. It's called the challenge period. It happens between voting day and certification day in December. It's about a 35 to 37 day window that happens. I think this year it's 37 days. No, wait, it's the 3rd to the 8th. It's 35 days. So it's a 35-day window in which all challenges to the election need to be resolved. So we've got that. That's part of the process. You have to be able to meaningfully challenge what's happened, okay? But they don't want that. That is a bad no. That's a no narrative. We don't want that one. We don't want to talk about that. They've been undermining the election the entire time. Oh, also, remember just a little bit ago when Hillary Clinton said Joe Biden should not concede under, quote, any circumstances? And at the debate, here they have on the side, Biden promised not to declare victory until election is independently certified at the debate. That narrative changed fast. Changed real quick. Real quick. All right, here we go.
Bogus conspiracy theories, completely unsubstantiated claims of voter fraud. They say it again and again, but what exactly are they talking about? They won't tell you, so we're going to tell you. Right now, fewer than 15,000 votes separate Donald Trump from Joe Biden in the state of Georgia. It's close enough that it's worth getting specific about what happened there.
15,000 votes in a state that big is definitely close enough. Definitely close enough. We need to be real about some of these numbers. When you start getting up towards 100,000 votes, depends on the state, right? But less than 20,000 votes in a state with millions of votes cast, yeah, we should be looking at that.
And Georgia's Secretary of State has now confirmed there will be a hand recount of all votes cast in Georgia.
A hand recount is not necessarily an audit. So that needs to still be addressed. It should be audited as well as recounted.
Among those votes, auditors will find a ballot cast by a woman called Deborah Jean Christensen. It'd be hard to find anyone who's got a bad word to say about Deborah Jean Christensen. She was well known in her community for years as a bird watcher, an avid gardener, a committed fan of the Georgia Bulldogs. Those who knew her were sad when she died last May, and they might be surprised to learn that even after her death, Deborah Jean Christensen still managed to register to vote and then cast a ballot, presumably for Joe Biden. In some ways, it's an inspiring story, the triumph of voting over death. And no one
Tucker's such a smug asshole. God, I love this guy. He's hilarious.
quite embodies that story like James Blaylock of
I love this
Covington,
one.
Georgia. Mr. Blaylock was a mailman for 33 years until he passed away in 2006. 14 years later, according to state records, he was still mailing things. James Blaylock cast a ballot in last week's election. How did he do that? It might be worth asking the New York Times. Maybe James Blaylock was just one of those extraordinary mail carriers. Neither rain, nor snow, nor gloom of night, nor even death itself could keep him from the mail.
Again, these are, if you didn't see this, there's a list that was being put together, I think on poll. Someone sent it to me, and it was like 14,000 voters that had allegedly died and cast votes. Now, I know that not every voter on that list had been authenticated as casting a vote. And the only reason I know that is because I picked a name at random, and that person had not cast the vote when I went and followed the process to check it out. I don't know how many they've certified as specifically doing this, but you know, these I'm guessing, I'm going to trust in Tucker's research team as having actually tracked these down. They seem to have stories about these people, and they should be able to tell if they actually cast a vote or not. There is a process in various states for doing this and for showing who cast a ballot and who didn't, specifically absentee. You can't see how they voted. You can see that they voted. So, yeah, but as for the actual, like, percentage of correct ones on the 14,000 list, I don't know. I know that they're not all correct, though. I did go ahead and find that out. But how many is it? Who knows? We need an audit. And they really should be tracking down these people to see who's dead.
In his case, maybe voting from the grave wasn't really fraud, it was just commitment. Okay. But what about Linda Kessler of Nicholson, Georgia? Linda Kessler died in 2003. 17 years later, she was still voting in presidential elections. Edward Swinott of Trenton, Georgia, spent his life working construction and teaching school. In his spare time, he loved bluegrass music.
Who doesn't?
To those who knew him, he played multiple instruments and enjoyed jam sessions. When he died 5 years ago at the age of 82, it seemed like he was gone from this world for good. But no, last week he voted for president. And he wasn't the only one. On your screen right now, you will see the names of other deceased voters. Every one of them played a role in last week's presidential election. As of tonight, there aren't enough of them to alter the outcome. That could change as we learn more. But for the moment, the point is, they exist. They are dead, but they voted anyway. The question is, how did they do that? How exactly did they cast their ballots? And the short answer is, by mail. Dead people tend to vote more often when you make it easier for them to vote, like any other group. And this year, we made it much easier for the dead to vote.
Sorry. Okay. You gotta love Tucker, right? You gotta love him a little bit. Like any other group. You make it easier, and then they vote.
States sent ballots and registration forms to millions of people totally unsolicited. The pretext was COVID. We had to do this for public health reasons, remember? We had no choice. Yeah. It was a public health emergency. The effect was to encourage fraud.
Willie Nelson? No! Willie, no! Oh, no! I'm just kidding. That's a joke. That's not the Willie Nelson. That's...
One 2012 study by Pew found there were close to 2 million dead people still on voter rolls around this country. That study also found that approximately 24 million voter registrations, that is 1 out of every 8 in America, were wrong. They were no longer valid, or they were significantly incorrect.
All right, we're not gonna, I don't want to go through any more of this because that's the main segment I wanted to hit, was the dead voters. Like I said, Tucker's been doing good work on that. They have the resources, right? That's the advantage of a big program like Tucker's, is they have the researchers who can go through and verify this up, follow up with people, say, hey, did you know this person? Ask family members, friends who can be identified. What was this person like? There's a little nice bits to the stories that they were doing. They've clearly done some investigative work on this and done it in a short time. These are the things that audits take care of. Because with an audit and a hand recount, you go ahead and you check the absentee ballot, and you just check the one basic step of, are they dead though? Are they dead though? And if they are dead, you throw the ballot out. And hopefully, that type of information coming out and the ability for people to research and credibly allege that absentee voters are actually dead, credibly allege that and show this is happening, that should be sufficient evidence to get an audit in any precinct where they can show it. I don't know if they'll do statewide audits, might be too much, but certainly a remedy of, we have dead voters voting right now by mail. We need to audit the mail-in vote in this particular precinct. We need to redo it. Not redo it, recount it and audit it and allow meaningful challenge to happen. Because it clearly isn't happening if we've got this many dead voters. That's the argument you make, and courts should be granting that remedy. Now, Georgia, again, has a hand recount, and so that may be resolved, but it needs to go farther. It needs to go all the way to the audit stage. So there's that. I don't know. I think that's about what I had for today. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of where the impactful lawsuits are going, but and also a little sad rollback on just how impactful they may or may not be. The Trump team was touting the win in Pennsylvania today, and they definitely got a win, but they didn't get a win big enough to overturn Pennsylvania. Now, there could be further challenges. The precedent set by the Supreme Court in that case about rolling back about not allowing the Secretary of Elections to extend the date arbitrarily for this part, that may be able to be argued for other ballots cast as well. Will it be effective in applicable in other ways? Maybe, maybe not. That has to still be litigated out. So again, I'm going to go with my initial take, and this take's going to be consistent. Is there voter fraud? Yes. There's always voter fraud, but yes, in this election in particular, there is voter fraud. Is there more voter fraud than normal? We don't know. Probably. Probably yes. It makes logical sense because the most prevalent form of voter fraud is mail-in votes. They are the easiest to defraud. They have the least chance of repercussion. They're the simplest manner to inflate election numbers. That's it. That is the number one easiest way to do it, and the hardest way to track down. Okay? That's not me. That's not a talking point. That's the Supreme Court of the United States and several appellate courts agreeing on there being significant risk of voter fraud for mail-in ballots. So, is there more in this election than other elections? Probably. Statistically speaking, we have way more mail-in ballots this election than we've ever had by a long shot. Not only are there more votes generally, there's more mail-in votes specifically at a higher proportion than the general amount of votes. So, is the amount of fraud increased? Mathematically likely to be so. Yes. We'll just say yes. But does our system in the courts allow for a meaningful reversal of this fraud and a meaningful check on the fraud? That question is much more complicated, much harder to answer. And no matter the amount of boasting by Rudy Giuliani, no matter the amount of smooth little jokes by Pompeo, where he says, there will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. No matter the puffery and the grandstanding by anybody, The question will be, does sufficient remedy exist to change the election results in a meaningful way? I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Don't get hooked on the hype. Let's watch the process come out, see what it does. I hope so. I hope we can meaningfully put faith in our election process. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means Trump wins or Biden wins. And if you're hinging your faith on the election on who wins, rather than just securing the integrity of the election, it might be misplaced. Might be misplaced. But neither of those is really a good answer, because how do we know the election's secure? Audits. Audits are the answer. Audits are the answer right now. Most likely outcome from any court challenge would be an audit. But, okay. Let's go ahead and do super chats, justice chats, and then we will do a movie over on Twitch. The movie tonight will be Cyborg, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I love this movie. The villain in it has like some creepy eyes, which are great. It's a good fun one, and we'll probably watch something after that as well. I will be following this election, the election lawsuits and major updates. I will certainly provide with stuff like that. If there's more info about the glitches having votes actually turn over, you'll see those on Twitter. Those are hard to verify. Those claims are really difficult to verify because of the unofficial nature of the counts. So if we get some meaningful verification on those things, I will report on it as possible. And I will be consistent in attempting to secure interesting voices around this election as well. So we'll talk soon about that. Check my Discord DMs. Is this about the Sophie thing? Okay. Would I moderate a debate between Truthy Magoo and Critical K over the Sophie case? Yeah, sure. Happy to. Truthy is one of the viewers, but I don't, particularly know them or the argument. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Just figure out. Let me know. All right. Sorry about that. Let's read these chats, and then we'll go over to Twitch. We'll watch Cyborg, and then probably some horrific movie. I have a whole list of horrific movies for second movies. Okay, Mario Carter 13 says the only free shit the left is gonna get is a helicopter ride from President Pinochet in 2024. Mercenary X says, for context, when Obama ran for re-election, he lost 4 million voters. When Trump ran for re-election, he gained 10 million new voters. He has over 73 million legal votes. Biden isn't winning this, not without a civil bloody war starting. I pray not for it. Crusader Saracen says, stream idea. Have Drex on and make it a These Damn Kids stream. Because last time he was on, I was dying of laughter the whole time he was talking about your kids and water bottles. Yeah. And we'll have to do with these. Maybe that could be a playoff on the Chad Dad stream, be These Damn Kids. Hal 9000 says, the real black pill is Tariq Nasheed calling BS on the election. Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, absolutely. Crusader Saracen says, Rico, please don't spam, buddy. You can say whatever you want. You don't have to spam it. Assuming that an audit is the most likely remedy for most lawsuits, what could come out of an audit? What does it take to throw out a ballot? If there was record amounts of fraud, logic follows there would be record amounts of votes thrown out too. Yes. The way an audit works is the challengers are there. It is they go through, they recount everything, and the challengers are given full-on access to audit the vote, to inspect everything, to raise challenges with election inspectors present, and that's the idea. So then they would be able to challenge it. If an audit is focused down into specific problem areas rather than recounting every vote in the state, you then have more time to meaningfully assign to each ballot, right? Like if you're just auditing the votes of Atlanta, you don't have to worry about the rest of Georgia. You can, or even specific precincts in Atlanta where you allege that, hey, lots of dead people from here voted. So then you go ahead and audit those types of things. If you're just limiting the audit to mail-in ballots, for example, because that's where the most likely amount of fraud is, and it's also got the highest fail rate. So you audit the mail-in ballots. Then you're dedicating your time to this specific subset of votes, and you get to spend more time per ballot and have more meaningful challenges. That's what the point of that is. What could come is a disqualification of individual ballots on a higher scale than we have so far. People's Populist Press says in Kermit the Frog voice, election riggers tongue my anus. Also, do you know how to do a Mo Zizlak voice? He's the bartender from The Simpsons. Oh, not without some thought and practice. I haven't watched The Simpsons in like 20 years. Silky Johnson says, hey, Nick, since you said that some of the potential court rulings could be considered unconstitutional, does it really matter since it seems that a lot of the actions that led to the lawsuits are also unconstitutional? Are these uncharted waters? We are in uncharted waters for sure, because new fraud is an uncharted water, and there's not a lot of law, of legal precedent around these issues. So we are in uncharted waters, but that doesn't allow the Supreme Court to issue an unconstitutional ruling that they would, when I say that they would find it unconstitutional, I mean they won't do it. Like they're not going to issue a ruling that they believe is unconstitutional. If they issue a ruling, it's presumably constitutional. I don't know how you challenge it. I guess I didn't lay out one other option. And this is a fear of the Democrats. If the process is pushed past the certification date of December 8th, and a state hasn't actually chosen its electors, the state doesn't get to go to the table, which is devastating. Like, let's say the process in Pennsylvania is under dispute and is not challenged. Well, the state, and is challenged, okay? And where they're not finished counting, they haven't resolved all the issues. The day before the electors are assigned and certified on December 8th or 12th or whatever it is, it's the 8th, the state legislature would have to choose electors on its own or refuse to send electors to the vote. Can't send in their vote if they send it. There is no late vote for electors to transmit their vote to the federal Congress. If that happened right now, Biden doesn't have 270 votes. Therefore, it would go through the process of going to the U.S. House of Representatives state delegations for the president and the U.S. Senate state delegations for the vice president. That's how it would work out if that happened. And that is a slim possibility. Okay? It's a very slim possibility, but it is possible if the electors can't be chosen by the state legislature. And let me briefly just add that it is the duty of the state legislature to choose the electors. Now, most of them do that. Most of them do the choosing of electors by popular vote within the state. But nothing binds the state legislature to that choice. They could, in theory, and this has been upheld in court cases going all the way back to the beginning, the state legislature could just choose electors on their own. Nothing stops them from doing it. Their own laws might not. So if lots of these states have Republican state legislatures that were won by Biden, Pennsylvania, I believe, being one of them, in theory. Now, again, don't get your hopes up on this stuff. Very unlikely. But in theory, Pennsylvania could just go and say, nope, we're voting for Trump. Our electors are voting for Trump, because we said. So, yeah. Awig says their own laws can't restrict them as it is a plenary power of the U.S. Constitution. Yeah, the question would be who could stop them from doing it. That would be a question that would get litigated very quickly in court. But I think you're ultimately right. That they would, Who's to stop them? But the remedy for this election may be that they don't send electors, which again triggers the 12th Amendment process, which would be weird. But yeah, so we'll we'll see. We'll see. Weird stuff has the potential for happening, but it's all long shot at this point. As we go on, it may become more and more of a reality, and that's what we're watching for, right? This is such an interesting election in this way. And I kind of hate COVID because of COVID, I'm not teaching the homeschool class on the Constitution. And this would be such an interesting topic to teach this year. But, you know, watch it in real time. Okay. Night of Hopex says, what you've essentially laid out tonight is that the big steal is more effective than the small steal. Yes. And that from now on, we'll see hundreds of thousands of fake ballots tossed in the mail. It's my position that's not an election, it's a sham. I agree. I think they really need to curtail mail-in voting. Or round out the process for verification. Voodoo Witch Doctor says, Amen. My spells are strong, my chants are powerful, and by my mighty grace, I can awaken the dead to lay peace upon their tortured soul. My fees are nominal, and my patience deep. And for that $149.99, I can arrange for the dead to vote Democrat. Call me man. That's Voodoo Witch Doctor. He will get your dead to vote Democrat for the low price of $149.99. Stogie Johnson says, hey, Nick, did you see Tim Pool's stream tonight? He had Alex Jones on. No, I didn't. And they talked about interdimensional beings, DMT, World Trade Center 7, the globalists, and all kinds of other fun Alex Jones stuff. Tim was kind of a deer in the headlights at some points. Pure gold. Oh, I bet that was funny. Yeah, can you imagine? Can you imagine trying to normie pill Alex Jones? You can't even imagine the pills I'm about to shove down your throat. Okay, back to the now back over to the super chats that haven't gone through yet. Email Mailson. I haven't missed your chat. It's just a ways down. Outer Haven NYC says, no matter how the election ends up, I think we can all agree that Old Town Grope is the #1 best song of 2020. Oh no. Oh no. Goodness gracious. Hold on, let's see this. Vienticus Prime says, woke is good. RW Bimby says 2 minutes early, and Chad Colfate 2A wannabe Hunan Muhammad says 47 hours and 58 minutes late and gay. Franco Miranda says, Nick, hope all is well with you and your family. Man, is it true that the Second Court of Appeals might have made their decision on Vic's appeal? Yeah, they've made their decision. They're just writing the opinions, I believe, at this point. So who knows when that opinion comes out? We don't get to know what that decision is until the opinion arrives. Anime Moon says, it's okay. Celebrate nonstop No Nut November instead. Frozen Gamer says, hypothetically, if Trump becomes president the same day Vic wins on appeals, how much collective reeing and salt would Law Twitter produce? All of it. All of it. By the way, if you want to be absolutely horrified, a bunch of Law Twitter and their orbiters were posting the saddest nudes you'll ever see on Twitter in honor of Biden winning. I don't recommend looking it up, but it is on Kiwi Farms if you want to be horrified. Frederick Little says, Nick, not election related, but I was curious, do you plan to get the new PS5 or Xbox Series X? I'll get an Xbox Series X eventually. I won't buy a PS5. I won't do that. Mario Carter 13 says, only thing deader than Cope meme is a Biden voter. Cope. I did coin the phrase pre-Cope, if anybody saw it, since discussing anything about an election is a Cope, predicting an election is a pre-Cope. So you need to have that. You need to have that. Kosk has upgraded to super lawyer status. Hey, Kosk, thank you. Ben Frail says, got a bottle of middle shelf dimple scotch to celebrate the election. Decided to drink it anyway. Win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat. Joshua Vidrine says, if Biden wins and an investigation reveals that he'd have won without any fraud, I'd be okay with that. But if serious fraud is discovered, what punishment would be imposed on the Biden campaign and Democrats? Oh, they have plausible deniability out the ass. Punishing voter fraud is so difficult that it's insane. Because we have secret ballots. Because we have secret ballots, it's almost impossible to punish voter fraud. You have to get someone to admit that they did it. Good luck. Royal Wind says, sorry if this has already been asked, but what if the Republican state legislatures select their own set of electors? Political nuclear bomb? They can. It's really unlikely. We just talked about that now a minute ago. Very unlikely. But it's possible. They have the authority to do it. It's been upheld by the courts before. Automata says, should watch Sudden Death sometime if you hadn't. You know there's a sequel to Sudden Death? Ooh. Duden2217 says, happy PS5 day, Rackets. The new controller is actually pretty cool. That's great. I have a PS3. I didn't buy a PS4. I don't have any desire to buy a PS5. I don't care about their exclusive games. Or I shouldn't say exclusive games. They're exclusive movies masquerading as games. Not my cup of tea. And I don't have the time for it. I'll probably buy the Xbox Series X mostly as a media center. But that's probably the extent of it. I almost bought a Series S today. Because I have a non-4K TV that it could hook up to, but I'll wait on that too. Timmy Carl says, did you hear the ACLU file a suit on Pennsylvania against Trump? No, I haven't heard about that. I'll look into it. Z says, RBG found the right to abortion, so maybe we should just find that Trump won. I mean, RBG didn't find the right to abortion. That was Justice Black, I believe, or Blackwell, back in the 60s. But yeah, RBG agreed with it. Mr. Kill Everything says, what kind of ketchup does Trump put on his steaks? Ugh. God. I don't know. Heinz. PLJ Screwjob says, Nick's about to go Super Saiyan over this fraud. Mario Kart 13 says, loud noises spread the coof. Governor Walz. Yep. That's my governor. Individualist says, aren't all Dems indefinitely constrained? After all, are they not all brain dead? No. Come on. Scott John Glazer says, I fail to see how COVID is a joke, considering I have family members on a breathing tube that may well die from it. Doesn't seem like a joke to him, considering he may never wake up again. No. Yeah, for individual people who are affected by COVID, it's not a joke. Obviously, no. But that is, in terms of a national emergency, it is a joke. And there are all sorts of diseases and afflictions that impact small amounts of people in very real ways. And for them, nothing's a joke, right? There are people who suffer from stuff where there's only 5 people on the planet who have it. It's not a joke, but locking down a country based on it would be a joke. Locking down the country based on COVID is a joke. Absolutely. The lockdown has not been very effective, has it? People are still record numbers of cases all throughout the lockdown. It didn't do what they said it would do. It's a joke. All it's done is ruin the economy. You know what is effective? Communicating risk factors and risk populations and letting them know how to avoid getting it at all costs. Locking down certain things. Not sending COVID patients to nursing homes, Governor Cuomo. That would have been a good one. Not sending the COVID patients into the nursing home to go kill everybody who's old. That would have been great. Look, I'm sorry if you don't like my classification of it as a joke, but show me why we should lock down the countries, the countries and states over and over and over again when it hasn't been effective so far. Why should we do that? It's much more effective to take targeted approaches to this rather than these blanket declarations that don't work. Nova Zero says, remember that time that Joe Biden said they had the greatest fraud system in place? I mean, it was probably a gaffe, right? Right? He meant anti-fraud, right? Because if not, it would be a little funny as an admission. Yeah. 14 days to flatten the curve. Biden's already said he's gonna throw in a 6-week lockdown. That's the plan now. He's appointed his board of doctors who are going to take over and undo the damage that Trump did by doing the same stuff. Just 6 more weeks. That's all. Don't worry, there won't be any more time after that. Just the 6 weeks, though. Caleb Lambright says, my name is Nick Rekieta. Nick Rekieta, I swallow cum. Thank you. Thank you. Jonathan Prezios says, not Twitter DM, actually group chat for my job. Private text messages, sending a YouTube link. I show you the screenshot. Where should I send it? You can send it to my Twitter, man. Tyrannosaurus Rex says, tried talking about this with a boomer I work with. Can't believe any of it is true because the fault is only Dems and the MSM isn't talking about it. Yeah. Mainstream media isn't going to. The mainstream media picked the election for Biden months ago. Openly. There's all sorts of criticism out there from journalists about it. And Glenn Greenwald's article about it is one of the best. That the media was open. And they have the right to do it. They have the right to do it. The important thing about the media is they can pick a president. They can choose who they support. They just shouldn't be given the deference of impartiality. They don't have it. They've been partial to Joe Biden from jump. I mean, I say months ago, 4 years ago, they picked the next president as being not Donald Trump. So no, they're not going to comment on it. There's nothing forcing them to. Got to just stop watching them. Find other sources. Find other sources. Sega Shooter Game says, can the state legislatures just not confirm the electorates, or do they not have a choice? If so, would that possibly force a tie? Kind of. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit and how it would work. They could choose their own electors. They could choose not to send electors. That could force a tie, or it could really force less than 270 votes. Rational Redneck says, what's the name of the video with the Detroit training? It's, I don't know off the top of my head. I can find it real quick. It was just, it was right before the election that we did it. Hold on. Hold on now. I got you. I got you. It was called ACB Asked to Recuse and Polling Shenanigans. And it starts about an hour into it. Okay, it was on October 28th. You should be able to find it in the October 2020 live streams. It's one of the last ones, so it should be right near the bottom. There were only 2 streams after it, so you should be able to find it there if you want to. All right. Disaster says, "Hey Nick, question: what did you think of the affidavits Dems submitted to the PA lawsuit admitting they canvassed ballots before Election Day today?" I haven't seen that one. I'll have to look at it. I haven't seen it yet. Calculate says, Nick, on the Dick Show, you said meth was bad, yeah? Did you know last 20 years, drug companies have bottled and given it to kids with ADHD? It's called Desoxin. KMN. I assume that means kill me now. No. I know they do methylphenidate, which is not the same as meth, but it's a similar agent to it. But I wasn't familiar with Desoxin. Yeah. Hobo with a Shotgun says, it's time to really protect our elections. Go count the Biden yard signs, take note, and then in the night go express the Second Amendment on them. No, don't do that. That is someone's private property. Doing that is a crime. Please do not. Please do not. Woodfoot says, hey, Nick, will you ever cover jury nullification? I'm ignorant, but it seems to me it's far more powerful for citizens than voting to make change. I mean, it kind of is, except, you know, you don't get sweeping results. You get individualized results with jury nullification. But it could make change in specific suits, for sure. Well, someday I'll do a stream on it. President-elect Austin M. says, API script shows 1,207 of the 100-plus-year-old Michigan list voted. The 1,207 votes was just Detroit, invoked the 12th. So there you go. R.W. Bimby says, enough fraud court remedy to change outcome? Maybe not. Enough proven BS to cause civil war? Maybe so. I hope not, man. I don't want a civil war. I don't want that at all. Christopher Ellis says, where's the Oprah giveaway when we need them audit for you? Audit for you, audit for every state. Audit for you, audit for you, audit for every state. Email Mailson says, did you check Lynn Wood's Twitter? No. What am I looking for? He is. Oh my God. Lynn's going crazy a little bit. I don't know. What am I looking for on Lynn's? Because I'm looking at his Twitter and I'm going, the Chinese stuff. Oh, here we go. I'll pull it up. Let me, it's the communists. I don't know, man. Linwood is not, I'm not on the Linwood train right now. His Rittenhouse stuff is pissing me off. Okay, the masters of deceit, the Chinese communists. Oh, yeah, I have it up. They thought they had us played. Sold new voting machines to states, likely with a big financial kickback to state officials. Scared millions into wearing masks that did nothing except lower immune systems. Killed thousands. Chinese communists used computer fraud and mail ballot fraud to interfere with our national election. They thought we could be had, and they thought they could overthrow our duly elected president without firing a shot. They were wrong. Communists forgot we are Americans who love and will fiercely defend our freedom and Constitution. They forgot about real Donald Trump who loves America and its people. They forgot the United States is founded under God. They forgot God wins. Pray for our country. Pray for all. So there you go. There's Linwood's Chinese stuff. And then he's got a bunch of stuff here. It's possible there's a communist or communist sympathizer behind every tree. Lynn's sounding a little paranoid. I kind of like it. Go for it, Lynn. Get him. There's an American patriot behind every blade of grass. There are more blades of grass than there are trees. Yeah, Lynn, there have been allegations that Lynn might be going crazy. So I don't know. It's funny. No, I didn't see that. I don't check Lynn Wood's Twitter as a rule. But yeah, RW Bimby says Logan Act on Citizen Biden talking to foreign governors. Why couldn't an individual of the United States talk to foreign government? That seems to implicate free speech. I know there's a Logan Act. CNN, probably in Kermit voice. There was no fraud. Meanwhile, 230-something sworn affidavits in one state alone saying there was. Nope, no fraud here. Nothing to see. Keep moving. I'm just saying, 92 says, great stream, Nick. Drinking Johnny Walker Black and smoking some nice cigars. Good combo. Decided to do Patreon for you. Rip new project too. Hey, thank you. Welcome. Glad to have you. Bad Vibe says, we all know RBG voted Beyond the Grave. New AMC show, The Voting Dead. Prequel to The Walking Dead. Esme Illis' anime says, please watch Alex Tim stream. Your thoughts? I'll have to look at it. It's great. I normally don't have time to watch stuff like that, but I'll see if I can make an exception. Ginticus Prime says, the world economy was garbage before lockdown. The world was, but the American economy was doing just fine. Angry Baneling says, Nick, I appreciate you BTFOing all the Sony ponies, but I heard Xbox Series X have been literally smoking. I recommend waiting a while before you buy. I don't have an option to not wait a while. I have to wait. So it's okay. Brian DeTarrant says, hey, Nick, I was unable to secure either of the new consoles without banging Dame Judi Dench. So take my money, Kang Grift. Thank you. Thank you, good sir. Cal Clay says, Biden cure has risk of sterilization for Trump voters. Angry Baneling says, never mind, smoking Xbox is a hoax, apparently. Oh, there you go. I don't know. Heinrich Berndowski says, the Detroit leak video you watched with Adam got nuked from YouTube. It's up on BitChute. Yes, it's up on BitChute. It's up somewhere else as well, but it's also still on my video. If you want the interview to go along with the video, we did watch the whole thing, but of course on mine it takes a little over an hour because we're talking, Adam's explaining things as we go. Brian Tarrant says, to the country, please lock down again as a trucker driving through the big cities without traffic. That was glorious. Hobo with a shotgun says, it's not a crime when defending against threats on a domestic front, and I didn't mean the signs. Yeah. Don't do that, please. Please don't. Biden the Coldman says, could you please sing the HMS Pinafore as Kermit? Oh, wait. No. I don't know the HMS Pinafore off the top of my head, so no. And Mr. Squiggle says, opinion on the Great Reset from World Economic Forum website. I have no opinion. I haven't read it. Let's see. Crusader Saracen says, notice how the two swing states with the strongest checks on mail-in voting, Florida and Ohio, implemented after the 2000-2004 election debacles respectively, both went overwhelmingly for Trump. Really makes you think, huh? Maybe. Crusader says, by the way, did you see Movie Bob get curb stomped on Twitter by Lindsay Ellis? Press S to spit on grave. Puh, puh. Also, who the hell is Lindsay Ellis? Lindsay Ellis is a Channel Awesome alumnus, I believe. Other than that, I don't know anything about her. Movie Bob, yeah, he took some L's today. She basically called him a fat, ugly stalker, which was great. But he had a smooth brain take that we should have a federal police force, which is a terrible, terrible thing and also unconstitutional. So, Crusader Saracen says, if there's any year where the state electors would go rogue and elect Trump as president, it would be the year of our Lord 2020. Stranger things have happened, so why not? At this point, I'm just waiting for Pence to descend on Philadelphia shooting lightning. Yeah. That is the argument. The counter argument for all of the calm that I'm saying is, but 2020 though. Yeah. Viandicus Prime says, if just fine means leeching off the Fed, then sure. Look, employment was up, unemployment was down, stock market's up. You could say it's fragile. They said it was fragile for 4 years, and it just kept trucking until COVID. Bad Vibe says, Nick, if your Detroit video gets struck, are you going to slap the fook out of them? I'm not going to get, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I would love the Michigan Secretary of State to tell me that I'm in violation of the law, so I could send her all sorts of like hairy ball pics or whatever. All right, guys, please go ahead and like the video if you like these live streams. Likes do help, by the way. But I understand if you don't want to click like as well. I accept you and I love you. Thank you for watching today. Let's get this outro going. Go grab snacks and drinks. Go to the bathroom. Meet me over on Twitch. And we will watch Cyborg, Jean-Claude Van Damme. And then we'll watch some other masterpiece of cinema similar to Hot Wax Zombies on Wheels that we watched the other night, which was riotously amazing. All right, guys. Here's the outro. We'll see you over on Twitch. Catch you soon. Peace. Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some law-splaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes madder, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an Ardbeg, a Balmore, a Lafroig. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear law-splaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Doug T to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea, post on Twitter as we hear Lost Blaming tonight. From the wide shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the thought better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law more